All right, people. All right, let me just bring up. You know what? I should see if this is being streamed first of all. I can't tell.
Yes.
No sound, Malm.
No
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Oh my God, you're getting so tech savvy. I'm gonna be reliant on you soon.
Okay, yeah.
Salam Mufti, you're doing it. No sound. Is there sound coming through, people? Sound is on.
My dad loves you. Sound is on.
I love you, Majan. That's who I love. You guys are the only loves of my life.
Dad's from California.
Is it all okay, people? You're doing it.
There's no voicemail.
There is voice and sound. It is going through. So
wait, all the people from California.
All right, Mufti. All right, from Melbourne. Much love, people.
Layla. That says Zara on it.
Says Zara. Yeah, it does actually say Zara, but that's the person's name. Not your name, Zara. That's her name, Zara Kayani.
I know that. I don't need to know what
Yo, यार हमारे बारे भूल गए हम कहाँ भूल गए यार अपन तो यहीं पे है इधर इच. So what's going on, people? Let me fix this camera up whilst people are tuning in. You can share the feed if you like. You know, if you want to spread the fitan and fasad. You want to spread the love? Go for it, people. You're doing it. You're doing it. So if you want to tune in live,
click the link.
Here is the link. I'll share it again.
No,
there is.
I don't see
You're
a Layla.
doing it,
It's
folks. You're doing it.
Well,
Hi,
I
Mufti
forgot
Saab.
where it is.
May Allah protect you.
Oh.
Shukran. Likewise. Right.
Okay. I can't see the camera. The camera's blocking my face.
My granddad goat, her name was Mufti Saab. How about a Reddit for memes? I don't really know about the Reddit thing. Let's see. I have not really used Reddit so much. It's just a chat forum, isn't it? So, but I do read occasional stuff on there when I'm Googling. But what's going on, people? These kids are vampires. This is it. I've been telling them they need to get their behinds to bed and they need to be asleep. But then but now you're having the meetup, so they need to say salam and hi. They need to, and is that
don't they have school? No school, Zozo.
Oh, Zozo has learnt the naughty.
Don't you have?
No, they don't have school.
Oh,
it's summer. It's summer holidays, people. Summer holidays are going down.
Summer holidays.
So today Zozo had learnt the you naughty.
Naughty. God, the accents are so cute. Ow.
All right. Well, okay.
Ooh, someone's on.
Peoples. All right. So, Mufti साहब आप live आते हैं, दिल खुश हो जाता है यार. यार आप ही की खुशी के लिए तो हम बैठे हुए हैं यहाँ पे. एक आपकी खुशी लेकर तो ये हम सब जो कुछ भी चल रहा है.
Dad, someone's on.
All right, people, you're doing it. Let me. So good to see. Yep. The bond,
Good
these my Johns, mi amor.
I am Zozo.
Yeah, Zozo, Zora Khan, Papa John. Right, so okay, then you're gonna go to bed now, okay? After this,
Then eat up a tie, then go to bed. That's how it works.
This is the problem. Is they're so volatile. This one, letting her on is like a proper. Somebody said, "Gif, it's wrong." What's wrong? Tell us about your. Right. So, people, tell us something about Salafi Creed. Abu Layth, you're a good guy. Shukran, yaar. You people are the. Yeah, you were doing a diary today about my show. They're more interested in it than I am most of the time.
She is.
All right. So, my Jans, is it bedtime?
Maybe. By the way,
Maybe.
someone's on.
Azarati, you're doing it with the super
Dad,
sticker.
someone's on, right?
Salam to all your kids. All right, people, if you did want to click on. Right, so, yes. I'll let you guys share the Can You Be My Teacher if I get to the UK. Well, we'll have to see. Okay, we'll have to see.
Wait, where does it say that?
It says over there. Right, what is this song? Why is this track? What's going on? Okay, come on, bedtime. Chalo, utao. And off you go. Zozo, Majan. Okay, off you go.
I'm not closing the door.
Oh my god, that's so naughty of you. Ow, my cable. There you go. Right, so peoples. All right, what is going down now? Sup, Mufti? Chilling. Right, right. Let me see. Shukran. Explore. Vah. Much love to sounds quiet in that room now. Hell yeah, it is. Look at this. What does I love you for the sake of Allah? DJ Amaluddin. DJ Amaluddin. This is the problem. I love you for the sake of Allah. This one. This one can be quite it's, well, I mean, in essence, it's a good thing. I find a lot of these things really weird, to be honest with you. What do you guys think? Check this mug out, people. You guys can't see the writing there. Mufti's medicine, people. This is it. So, I love you for the sake of Allah. What do we think about that, huh? I find all this hyper religious talk a bit weird personally. But people, sure, I mean, if it helps people, why not? But for me, it is a bit kind of weird. All this, I love you for the sake, everything is so hyper Islamicized. We've got a guest, but people put on your webcams. Yeah, is there Abdul Basit Chishti Sahib? Kahe ka sharmana? So switch on your webcams. Let's see if anybody. Let's connect with some of the people, mi gente out there. What's going on? Ho ka raha hai. Look at that. Go on then. Hello? What's happened there? That's weird. Right, okay, so, right, I see. Assalamu alaikum. Hello? Hello? Ghaib ho gaye. So, how do I turn on my webcam? Well, you switch it on. It gives you an option, I'm sure. You've got Sikandar Khan. Salik, you're doing it. How can we get on the live call? Can you please share the link? I've shared the link. Here it is. I'm sharing it again. There's the link, people. All right. Sikandar Khan. Assalamu alaikum. Yaar, andhera hai. Hello? Surely this can't be. Okay, I don't know. Now that's two people. Now it's making me think, is it my device? It can't be my device because I'm actually hearing things in the background when they're coming on. So let's see. Explore. We've got Explore 2580.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. All right.
Mufti, I've been trying to reach you for quite some time.
Okay, I don't know. Now that's two people. Now wait, you've got. If you can you put the volume things in the background when they're coming on? So let's see. Explore. We've got explore 258.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. There was just too much feedback before. Oh, the feedback's still going on.
Hold on a second. I'm having some audio problems.
No problem. I mean, you can fix onto there's too much feedback coming back. I think it's gone down now. But can you hear me? You can't hear me now, I take it. I tell you what, figure it out, and then we'll bring you back in. All right, we've got Faisal Durrani. All right. Assalamu alaikum. Faisal, you're doing it. Where are you connecting from?
I'm from Loughborough, so not too far from you.
From where? Sorry, Loughborough.
Yeah.
Loughborough. Where's Loughborough? Now, this is where it shows I didn't get a GCSE in geography.
Well, I mean, I see your general knowledge is really good. It's between Leicester and Nottingham.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, so you're very close. Yeah, you're in the Midlands.
Yeah. Just 40 minutes drive from you.
आप बस यहीं आ जाते, हम यहीं से कर लेते.
Yeah, one day perhaps, one day.
Inshallah. How are you doing, Faisal, man?
I'm fine. I'm a long-time fan. I just want to say I like the fresh perspective on religion, on Islam that you bring in, especially making it available to the youth. I think I've picked your mind about this in a question, but I think because you're getting so many questions at a time, we didn't really dive deep into it.
Sure.
I mean, there are many dimensions to Islam, but I think the one that Muslims, kind of commit a lot of their time and effort to is the Islamic prayer. They have to do wuzu, they have to pray 5 times for their entire lives. And I think obviously if you go to a Seroza or a 4-month trip or whatever, you get to learn.
पुराने साथी हैं आप.
Yeah.
Tablighi Jamaat.
I've been places, yeah. So I feel most of the time there's the same regurgitation of how many things are farz and how many things are sunnah, and just trying to repeat these things over and over again. However, the whole the aspect of spirituality in Islam and the meditative part of prayers usually is not looked into. I mean, this is not something that you just do physically.
What are we saying? That basically prayers a form of meditation? Is this what are we talking about? Is that what you're saying?
Why? I mean, what is the whole idea behind prayers? Obviously, it's sunnah, you should do it, but it's not like our Prophet didn't just say, cut hair exactly like mine or whatever. There's always some sort of meaning to it. I was hearing a Jewish rabbi, and it was a completely different aspect to how they look at prayers and actually asking, like the way we ask for dua. And it was quite interesting how they look at duas, which is you asking for God is not necessarily begging him to make something happen, but it's in your repetitive pursuit of something, you either try to pursue it with more commitment, or because you are contemplating that thought over and over again, you might look at that problem from another perspective, or get for example, let's say your family member is doing really badly, he's got poor health, or he or she is poor. By asking him, you're not only asking God and begging him to give him life, but at the same time you're grounding yourself into the reality that
there's other dimensions to things like dua. It also benefits the dua maker, the person making the da'i. It benefits him as well. So there's a reflexive impact.
So
I agree.
So it's a different perspective to what we think. So I was thinking, when you stand up to pray,
Mhm.
5 times a day.
Huh? Now you're going to say, but I've got you on camera not standing up 5 times a day.
I wouldn't say that.
Huh? Yaar, pakde gaye, yaar. We've been caught out.
You know, I mean, you've been to Pakistan. I'm originally from Pakistan as well, and you see Pakistanis, you know, very punctually going to prayers, going to the mosque. However, the element of spirituality or morality hasn't come in Pakistan or people from that part of the world as much as you would see an atheist or, you know, normal common white British person being much more you know, much more being a better neighbor, not poking their nose, being more, you know.
What you're saying is basically the salah is there, but where are the ethics?
I mean, why
Ethics.
if salah is supposed to fix us,
Then why hasn't inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar?
Yeah.
So why has it not? Is this
yeah,
what we're
what are we missing when we stand up to salah? How, I mean, what perspective do you go to, you know, when you stand up for salah? Where do
you see? I think personally, salah in itself is not about insan's connection with other insan. So salah is really just about a person's connection with God. We are mistaken when we think that salah just through the, like, just parrot fashion salah will make us better people. It won't. Salah, but just by itself. So, you know, this inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar, it's not from the mere robotic aspect. But yes, what this means in that sense is bil khushu' wal khudu' wal tawadu' wal, you know, all these things, bil itmi'nan, and what they call tuma'nina in salah, all this focus and meditative aspect, reflective aspect. But wo kahan karte hain log? You know, those people have they've passed away, those kind of people. Salah, if it has the capacity, let me put it like this, it has the capacity to allow you to reflect, but most people that will pray won't reflect. That's just because they will do it in a robotic, automaton kind of ritual way, like, you know, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, you know, Allahu Akbar, you know, that's it, gone, salam alaikum. And look, I'm just as guilty of praying salah like that, just as I'm sure many people are. You know, it doesn't, and I'm not trying to say if you're praying salah like that, it's a bad thing. It's still salah. But then don't expect that salah, like I don't expect because I pray salah, it's going to turn me into a wonderful person. I don't expect that. That's my duty. To, you see, it's like the asal is darkness. We have to bring light. Okay, the asal is dhulumat. Then Allah, you know, we have to bring about the light, the nur. It's the same thing, you know. It's like you know, I love that analogy of things like if you're trying to grow plants or you're trying to grow vegetation or even grass and things. I suppose grass, okay, but to have it in a very nice way, you have to work hard. You know, things like weeds, and not cannabis weed, but these kind of weeds and these kind of non-wanted plants, they grow on their own.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, but if fruits and vegetables just grew on their own like that, that would be awesome. But people have to work hard to make that happen. Yeah. You know, they have to toil and work at the, you know, they've got to kind of sow those plants and then go over it and harvest it. And so it's in a similar way. It's not just by itself. The human nafs is a very kind of stubborn thing, you know, and I think that's by default. But yeah, I appreciate these thoughts and reflections, Faisal, and shukran for sharing them with people as well. You're doing it, man. Much love. From Loughborough, do stay in touch. Do message me on, if you're on Insta or even on Facebook, just so now I know the profile. So now I'll look out for you. I'll be, that guy from Loughborough. The Salah guy, the one who's really concerned, mashallah, about the spirituality.
Well, yeah, you do something, you know, 5 times a day.
No, true. No, it's a good point. I'm just joking, but it's a very good point.
I understand. But there
So
should always be, should be looking at the next level. So I'm always thinking, I will
no,
do it
I
for
really
33 years,
appreciate it. I
33 years.
appreciate it, inshallah.
So
And
anyway, thank you very much for
shukran, most welcome, and stay connected, man. Shah. Take care,
Inshallah.
stay blessed. Salaam alaikum. All right, people, that's from the Midlands right there. Should we bring on, who's the next? Salik Muhammad. Yeah. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you, Mufti?
Alaikum salam. All of a sudden, I feel overdressed. I mean, I've never said that. I mean,
Mufti, हम आपकी तकलीद कर रहे हैं।
यार मुझे भी उतारने दो यार ये
जरूर जरूर I'll keep the ones ready.
हम तो वैसे ही बहाना ढूंढते रहते हैं
Mufti, you take it off and see how many super chats you're gonna get.
That's the scandal everybody's
Keep
waiting
the
for.
show going.
So I took that off. This would go through the roof, the viewership.
करना पड़ता है मुफ्ती साहब, करना पड़ता है. You gotta do what you gotta do.
What's going down, Salik?
Nothing, just alhamdulillah. Well, I've been following you for a pretty long time now. When you didn't have this many, such a big following, and I've been supporting you.
Big following.
You're a star now. What are you talking about? No, but I want to take the opportunity to actually thank you, because you legit, like, I don't know how I even came across your thing. It was very, very random. And by the way, I live in Toronto, so they sound like I'm in the UK scene where, I'm like, but I saw your thing, and I was so I myself have a background. I got closer to Islam. I had a trouble kind of like, in the high school, how teenagers, we have a troubled phase, a lot of us. And the Tabligis got a hold of me. And you know what happens if the Tabligis get a hold of me?
As they do.
Like they do, right? Like they do. So, and then I was like really deep into the whole Tabligh thing. I even did 4 months in 2013. Yeah, 2013. I did my 4 months. And the way, now that I look back at it, and I used to have a bunch of questions, but I was always told up there, like your last what's it called, your Monday Nights with Mufti, you were talking about how the madrasa system dumbs you down. You're supposed to just shut up and obey. That's the same thing I had with Tabligh. Anytime, like, I traveled 12,000 kilometers to Pakistan, and I had a bunch of questions, and these guys were like, "Oh, tumhe samajh nahi aayega." I'm like, "Main samajh nahi to aaya."
You go, chalo aap hi samjha dijiye fir.
That's what I said. I have so many questions.
And
then
that is so, the Tablighi Jamaat, my thoughts on the Tablighi Jamaat is that, at A level, they are awesome. Like they are, for certain people, they will take you out of your environment. They'll, you will have a new environment for a number of days. You will be, they'll go over your salah, do the mudhakarat.
You'd be high on the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, you'll be like, they'll be like giving you the stories of the angels are here and this. Chalo, it doesn't matter if it's fabricated, but it's good. It boosts your iman. They will perfect your salah, teach you how to do wudu. They will talk about purity. They will give you time to do dhikr. They will say, do this dhikr, read Quran. It is epic. It is a kind of like a purge, purgative element to it. A detox.
Yeah.
But what happens is once you stabilize, you see, it's like physio to an extent, that once you've they've helped you work the kind of joints that ain't working, and they kind of, you got to walk, take, slowly, gradual pace. But once you can do that and you're back to a stable point, they unfortunately then become a barrier, a hurdle. It's like, if you now can walk again using the crutches, it will, or that kind of Zimmer frame, it's going to now trip you up. And they weigh you down, unfortunately. They discourage critical thought. They discourage forget critical thought. On many occasions, they discourage people learning too much. They have a culture where, shaitan ne bahut zyada seekh liya, and, look at the shaitan, he learned, and look where it got him. He got him banished from Jannah. And there's a glorification of naivety. Being naive and simple is good. So I'm very much indebted to the Tablighi Jamaat as well. In my teenage years, they definitely threw me a lifeline to the deen. But there was a point where I started getting more interested in learning, and there was a very discouraging culture towards learning.
Correct,
some of the
100%.
guys from my neighborhood, I mean, I don't know how they are now, may Allah bless them forever, they always will have a high maqam in my heart and mind.
That's good.
There was an Amir, our local Amir, his name is Brother Shokat.
Yeah.
And Shokat Bhai, and I hope he's doing well. You know, may Allah always bless him. He did, surprisingly, he actually did encourage me. You know, he said to me that, you know what, I said to him, I want to learn. I want to go away and learn. And I remember his words. He was in the masjid. He kind of said to me, you know what? He said, that's good. He said, you know, when a person wants to do something like that, he said, when a person wants to learn, they have a target and a focus in mind.
100%.
And they, you know, they then make their journey towards that focus. And he said to me, go for it. But I really appreciate that encouragement. But overall, I agree with you. There's a lot of, but for people who are in need of that detox,
for sure, 100%. So like I've been in countless Jamaats, and I was in Pakistan, like I told you, I did the 4-month route. And I had people literally tell me, so my dad was really opposed to it. My dad is more on like the ilmi side of things. And he's like, no, I don't see that. It's better that you spend all. And I was like, I was in my 2nd year of university. They're like, my dad's like, you're a college kid. Listen, you don't need to spend all this money. You know, why don't you do Umrah instead? And I was told by these satis, the Purane satis, that Umrah se behtar hai Allah ke raste mein ja. And stuff like that, right? And I was really deep into it. And I would see myself, like, you go to a masjid, and if the imam wasn't like pro-tablighi, like these guys who had their poor tajweed, really poor, like no understanding of Aqidah or like fiqh or anything, but they would be hating on full-on imams that have dedicated years of their, you know, of their life to learning the deen. So that's something that, you know, but I want to say, I want to thank you. I came across your stuff, and ever since I came across, I got a lot of backlash from a lot of people, as you do with your stuff.
It's going to happen if you're going to sit there saying the hardest
worker in the room.
Hardest worker. Acha.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking, what's being advertised here? What kind of pills is he advertising?
I came across your stuff, and it encouraged me. A lot of the doubts that I had, you really eradicated them, and I really want to, I'm indebted to you, and I want to thank you for that. It really means a lot.
I really appreciate it, Salik. And you know what? I'm going to look out for your profile. I'm sure we're already in communication.
We are. But
sometimes, you know what it is? Sometimes because I'm used to the profiles, I'm not used to the actual face sometimes. So drop me a message. Let me, I'll keep that in mind. I dearly appreciate your words, man. Take very good care of yourself.
Can I ask one question real quick?
Oh, you go for it. Go for it.
Sure. So there's one question I had that this one friend of mine, she's a lawyer, and she asked me, which I thought was interesting.
Law question. Legal questions now.
So she's a lawyer in the US, and she asked me a question which I never got the answer of. And she's like, you know how in Islam, for example, you need 4 witnesses to like prove rape or adultery or stuff like that. Is that correct?
Okay, but carry on, and I'll
So she's like, how does Islam, like in today's day and age, when we have DNA evidence, forensics, we have CCTV footage or fingerprints, all that stuff, is that not a more solid piece of evidence as opposed to 4 witnesses that can, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So right now, that's not exactly true in that sense. I'm not saying some scholars haven't said that, but generally, just to be clear, that there's different crimes. For different crimes, there's different things. So, so for example, this thing that they say about 4 witnesses is to do with just adultery. It's not to do with rape.
Oh, okay.
So people sometimes confuse this, and they say, well, you know, oh, for rape, we need this. No. So rape is not the same thing as zina. I know some of the Hanafiya do call it. They came up with the term zina bil jabr, forced sex, I suppose, which, but the Malikiya use the term irtisab, which is where it's like an aggression that's used, obviously a sexual aggression in this particular case, sexual assault. They do sometimes use the word al-i'tida, which means more assault. But in this case, the common word ightisab, which means now in Arabic rape, but it actually comes from the root word when there's been an act of aggression and somebody has taken something. Usually, so the Malikiya did not for ightisab say that you need 4 witnesses and things like that. But there was like circumstantial evidence would do. But what was the punishment varies. So the punishment could be for example, in that day and age, the lashing. It could be from min bab ta'zir. It could have been imprisonment. It could have been what the judge felt. It usually always involved ightisab, always involved financial compensation to begin with to the victim, and then some punishment as well to the person, depending on how well they proved it. So obviously there is, because a certain amount of proof is necessary, obviously, from the aspect that anybody could make any claim, and how do you prove it? But it wasn't this thing of like, here comes a lady, she says, look, I've been raped, you can do a semen analysis, DNA, you can, here's CCTV camera, you know, you've got this, and they say no, but we need 4 men to say, well, they've seen it.
That's exactly the point.
And this is a misconception. So that was to do with where people would say, hey, you know, such and such are having a fling.
Okay.
And then they would say, well, no, you know, the bar is that high that unless you can do this, we're not going to. So it was actually to prevent people from being able to go in and pry on people's privacies. Because it's very unlikely 4 men are going to all, you know, unless you've got a live stream going on.
But in Indonesia,
you subscribe to that webcam.
That's a different story. But in Indonesia, there's like the Sharia police that if a hotel, let's say, you know, I saw this Vice documentary where like a couple goes in, gets a room, and the hotel staff will snitch on them, and then they'll have the Sharia police.
That's put you off from going there as well, and it's just like it put me right off. I was like,
I crossed it off the list. So like that's how extreme they are, and like, and I'm so grateful for your rhetoric and the stuff that you have put out there, because for a lot of my non-Muslim friends and Muslim friends that are struggling with the faith, myself included, some of the things don't make sense at all, and then. Because we're always taught to just shut up and listen, but your stuff helps to clear those doubts, and I'm really grateful for you.
So no, shukran, much appreciated, Salik. Shukran for that. Right? Okay, cool. Just stay in touch, man. Daily
for sure. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
All right, people. That was Salik connecting all the way from Canada. Let's bring on here. We've had waiting for quite a while. Big Khan, boy, Allah, Big Khan, assalamu alaikum, Allah. Yeah, ahlan wa sahlan. Where are you connecting from, Khan Saab?
From the north of England, sir, near Blackburn.
Whoa, look, there's the accent right there, the northern accent. You're doing it, mashallah. Shukran. Tell us what's preoccupying your thoughts.
I've actually stolen my own son's account. That's why it says Big Khan boy.
I was going to say, whoa, I like the creativity with the Big Khan.
I'm not big in any sense, but yeah.
Where's my other? I have this mug usually which says size matters. It's like this really big mug.
That's actually a small mug you got for my standard.
Wow. So do you tell us what's preoccupying your precious thoughts?
I've just come on, and the previous 2 brothers which I have seen, where they've, Salik Muhammad especially, is the fact that I think there is this thing where in that time, I mean, they want to be Abid as well as be an Alim. But then there is a certain group, you know, in the Tablighi Jamaat. I mean, I'm Hanfi by belief and fact. But then there are certain individuals, because with changing times, as people have come from Pakistan from India, Pakistan to England, and have that more education stuff, people either can't be full-time Abid or be full-time Alim. It's just that what happens is they want to be a hybrid of the two, but traditionally that's not possible. I mean, from a tradition point of view, from a Pakistan cultural point of view, it doesn't happen. It gets confusing for some individuals, even myself.
Yeah.
I am interested in learning of Deen from my jurisprudence point of view. I hope I got that right. Pronounce it.
Don't worry, no fatwas coming against you.
You have to prove, we have to work out on that, Mufti Sahab.
No, I totally agree that what you're saying is that, look, in the real world, you can't, not everybody can be a scholar, and not everybody can be a nasik, this kind of abid, zahid, somebody that is like a hermit, you know, like almost dedicated to ibadah. We can't. But wouldn't you agree that the deen doesn't really demand that from people, that they become, that everybody becomes an alim or becomes a zahid and a mutanassik like that? Wouldn't you think that it just tells you just live your life naturally, because in harmony with?
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you. In my way, as I've said to somebody was that I want to gain knowledge of Deen, not because to become an alim, but because of the fact that it's my right to have the knowledge as a Muslim.
Of course it is. Of course. And you know something, Khan Saab, is that
I'm sorry.
Right? No, is that the learning of the deen is amazing. You know, it has a hook to it. It's like, you know, fishing or whatever it is. Once you're hooked, you will forever be kind of like so high, as a metaphorical high, on the learning of this deen. And I honestly, I say that with all my heart, that I'm being absolutely honest. I love the learning aspect, and I won't lie, that is the only aspect that has overwhelmed me, the kind of knowledge legacy of this deen, that kind of one that kind of really took me in and just kind of enveloped me. And it, you know, there's a saying of Sufyan al-Thawri from the Salaf, who said that, he said, if the kings knew the ladha, the kind of pleasure there is in these sciences that we have, laqataluna alayhi bisyuf, you know, they would have fought for us for it with the swords, like, meaning that's how it is something amazing, and it's something I encourage everybody to learn. And you don't have to, learning does not have to mean you enroll on an 8-year Alamiya full-time course. It can mean that, look, you learn on the side, you know, you start just learning some Arabic, you start going through maybe some books, some apps, you start doing that. Once, you know, your Arabic's getting a bit better, I even say to people, look, watch things with Arabic subtitles to improve your Arabic. As you're doing that, you start learning a bit of fiqh, a few lectures here, you start Googling, you start researching, and this is a lifelong journey.
Gigi, bilkul. I mean, just to further elaborate on what you said, before Salih Muhammad, there was another brother who came, and he was mentioning when you were praying 5 times a day.
Right, yes, you're right. Yeah.
You don't feel
Faisal, yeah.
Gigi, Faisal Sahab, yeah. It's just that I was even given an example. I mean, even the thing came to my mind was that even here in England, even in Pakistan, in the bodybuilding world, which I've had a bit of connections with.
Allah, are you in the Allah? Now we understand the big. See, the camera is too focused just on the face. We can't. Body to hum dekh nahi sakte yaar.
If you were to Google my name, there is records on Google as well.
What's the name, Hazrat?
Muhammad Akil Afzal.
Muhammad Akil Afzal. Okay,
yes.
Shukran. We'll dearly appreciate.
It's just that this is what from Islam, which I've learned is from Deen, that there are many things which Allah Ta'ala has blessed you with. Allah Ta'ala has blessed me with minor things. And I always say is what Allah Ta'ala has given me, He can take it back when He wants it.
Oh, sure. I mean, you know, they say that this whole world is just established on a strand of hope, isn't it? A strand of, like they say in Urdu, it's said as well often, like ummid pe dunya qaim hai. You know, everything is really just a hope, this kind of, that Allah sustains us in that sense. You know, there is, what's to say the universe couldn't just evaporate, matter couldn't just dissipate? It could, just because it hasn't up until now. Philosophically, that's possible. You know, it's not Yeah, I mean, these things are very, you know, I was having a very interesting, deep level discussion with a sheikh just over the weekend, actually, Sheikh Sajjad. And we were speaking about things like human reality and God, and he runs the Sacred Text Institutes as well. So he teaches, and there was this thing of how do we explain free will and destiny? And he was coming. He has this theory, which is a very kind of like a hard determinism, almost a textual. He calls it computational something theory, but it's like a computer program. Oh, right, that's my that's my phone spying on me. Right. So, but what was interesting is I said, you know, as a theory, it's interesting what the thought, what if we are simply just as a kind of like as an analogy, like characters. The question, are we like characters in the imagination of God, in a sense? Like, are we to God's reality, are we fiction or non-fiction? You know,
there is an Urdu word which you must have heard of many a times, is Ashraful Makhluqat. Meaning the leader of creations, because getting that name itself is a big honor in itself.
Yeah, it is.
So, according to Allah Ta'ala, He He does what He wills with us.
No,
but
of course.
What we can do is obey Allah Ta'ala to be better human beings. Because if you think about it, there is a difference of jurisprudence between me and you. But this is Allah Ta'ala's gift to mankind, that Allah Ta'ala has given the deen, it protects the deen, but maintaining it from then till today.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's very true. It is
authentic self. Why? Because there have been many scholars from Maliki fiqh, from Hanafi fiqh, from Hanbali, from Shafi'i, all of them from before us till now, who have been sincere to the deen just for the sake of Allah Ta'ala.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, I dearly appreciate your words, Shukran, Muhammad Aqil Saab, for really sharing your thoughts, your sentiments with us. I'm sure that these things are really an ultimate reminder always, as Allah says, Dhakir fa inna dhikra tanfa'ul mu'minin. People, we should always remind one another. A reminder is if anything, just beneficial. But I dearly appreciate this as well. Are you on Instagram or are you on Facebook? If you are, drop me a message there, and I'll always keep a lookout for your profile as well.
Inshallah, even to finish it off, what has happened?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Before,
no, of course. Yeah, no, but go for it.
Even you are a mufti Karam, but then there were certain videos which I've seen of yours, and you've said where certain individuals, certain ulama, certain muftis have this shade in front for the camera or outside the camera. It's just that I agree with you there. I agree with you there that sometimes it does come as a shock to the system that certain ulama or certain shayukh who have actually in front of the camera or besides the camera, you know, they have a different persona, but then in real life they may be living in their jungle all the time.
Yeah, and this is, you see, this is it's like the trade-off. So I suppose I've chosen the opposite extreme end, where I from the beginning just give a shock. So it already, the trade-off is, well, it already freaks out so many people and they will leave then, and that's fine. But at least if they ever see me, or if they ever hear me, or if they know that, well, look, he's not kind of being duplicitous, he's not being something deceptive. And the problem sometimes, I was just speaking just yesterday with he's an academic ustad, an American, who he has a very, like, an honorable post in Morocco. He lives in Morocco and he teaches, works within the Qarabiyyin University and with the Ministry of Religious Affairs as well. Now, this was the issue about that there are, you know, this kind of this gap, and how people, you see, there's many ulama who believe many things. He was actually saying to me that, you know, there's many ulama that actually hold very similar views to you. He was saying that they actually say they say a lot of what you're saying, but only in their own circles, and they would never say it in public. and he was saying that this, because they fear the backlash. So in public, they have a different opinion, a different strand. But in private, with their select few, they will be different. They will allow so many things. They will say this is permissible. Like they'll say smoking is fine. They'll say this is fine. But in public, they'll say it's haram. And the problem with this is, one, with them, I fear the mental health it will create with them later on. Because, living this duplicitous life is not healthy for the individual. But then the greater social fear is when people do come across this, they see a hypocrite, and they then think the deen is like this. The deen is just hypocritical. Rabbis and this history, this legacy of just corrupt people.
It's just that sometimes these type of discussions which you have mentioned it's necessary in these environments. Example, if I was to give you a linguistical example, which I use every day as an example, you understand Punjabi, if I'm correct. Yeah, there is a word what we use out of frustration. Ke tu mere sar te na bo. Yeah. The thing is with that word, somebody who has limited knowledge of Punjabi, as they say in Punjabi, wo to chara pareshan ho jasi ki sare par bhai na kis tarah hai bhai. Itni jagah ko nahi apar.
Yaar, kaise baithe kaise wahan par yaar.
Mufti sahab ko fatwa lodo.
कुछ ना कुछ तो लोड़ना पेसी उन.
No, that's what I mean. Sometimes in certain circles, it depends on the individual's understanding. Even there has, even there is a hadith, I think, where there was one normal villager who was speaking to the Prophet ﷺ in a normal village style manner. And Hazrat Muhammad, our Prophet, peace be upon him, they spoke to him in the same manner.
Yeah. Like and kind of let his mannerisms be, the Bedouin have they had a very rough, like a Dehati kind of very rural style of approaching, none of that city or respect, just like, this, speaking like a bit like that. And but yet the Prophet completely entertained it. He didn't kind of say, what the hell, who do you think you're talking to? And the other people found it offensive around the Prophet, and they tried to, rough the person up, and the Prophet stopped them and said that, relax, like it's okay, like there's nothing, don't sweat it, it's all cool, like that's his style, and there's a saying, man bada jafa, whoever lives in as a Bedouin has those kind of stuff. Cool. I know we've got quite a few people waiting here, but Akhil Saab, it's been an absolute pleasure. Inshallah, koi message bhejega on Instagram or something, and we'll definitely look out for you. Take care, stay blessed. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
All right, people from the north of England. Let's see who we've got. A bunch of Explore. We've had Explore waiting for quite a while. Hopefully he's fixed his issues. Let's bring him back on. Explore, you're doing it.
Can you hear me?
I can. I can't. Look at that. My phone is just spying on me. What's wrong with these phones? When you need them to do something, they're like, dude, what's going on? Explore. What's your name and where are you connecting from?
I'm from the United States of America. Let me just get right into it, Mufti. Let me first of all congratulate you. We are living in difficult times, although this can be said about every single time.
So true.
I got to congratulate you because from what I see is a lot of stupidity and ignorance that has infected the Muslim nation. We have I've been involved in Islamic studies my entire life. I have yet to come across an intelligent Muslim. And I'm just being real about it. It is when I look at the Muslims today, Mufti, they are failed, dysfunctional people, dysfunctional societies. They're incapable of taking care of themselves. They're dependent people. They have failed economically, socially, governmentally, and the clergy has a stronghold on the Muslims. Okay?
True.
Now, here's the problem. And by the way, I know I'm coming across too strong, but I have to get this information out because let me tell you this, Mufti. I was thinking of creating a certain platform for myself and getting this information out. Getting this information out. that we need to re-examine this whole tradition, the way it's been fed to us. Because I'm telling you right now, we've been told a lie. This is what my Islamic education has brought me to. There's an over-reliance on hadith. The Sunnis particularly, and especially the wretched Salafi group that has ruined the Muslim nations, the Muslim nation, they put hadith equal to or greater than the Quran. Now, I'm not going to make this about hadith, okay? But these things were written 200-300 years after the Prophet, or at least compiled. And the Sunnis want to tell us, that they have something called the Chain of Narrations, the Chain of Narration, which neither the Quran nor the Prophet nor his companions taught. So they're imposing their worldview back on early Islam. So that's one of the major problems, by the way, is this over-reliance of hadith. They've made it equal to or greater than the Quran. That's number one. And here's another thing that the general traditional Muslim understanding, or that we're taught by the clergy, is they have made rituals over conduct. The Muslims, especially the clergy, they assess your dignity and human value based on how precisely can you follow these rituals. Now, when I read the Quran, there is nowhere in the Quran that says that a person needs to be punished for missing prayer. In fact, and I reached out to you, Mufti, and thank you for engaging with me. And I don't want to be too long here, but I was going to come on and give a thorough explanation on what Islam is actually based on. It's based on faith. Faith precedes all works. Faith precedes all works. What I mean by that is, without properly understanding whom you're worshiping, these things, these rituals that are external, zakah, hajj, salah, these are just secondary. But let me tell you this, Mufti, in Saudi Arabia, they have placed the prayer above faith, which is why they have rulings to say if you miss even one prayer, you're to be killed. And by the way, this is authenticated. It goes back to Imam Ahmed bin Hanbal, as you well know.
Yeah.
Listen, Mufti, let me again congratulate you on this, because you're the lone voice here. You're the lone voice here that is standing up against the stupidity and religious zealotry everywhere. And I just came across, and it's so shocking, because they've done this against me. The moment you're willing to express yourself, and it is not as though you're making this stuff up. You're a researcher. And because these people oppose education and goodness, look what they've done to you. Smear campaigns online. They've done the same to me. So what I want to get this out to the good Muslims out here, the ones that are watching this, because I know the people that are watching this, they're dependent on reason. They're just, listen, Mufti, let's be real with it. They're barely holding on to faith.
Yeah.
They're barely, and I'm telling you, I got news for you, Mufti. In America, a lot of the people that I associate with, they can see through all this. They're just nominal Muslims.
Of course.
They don't need, we're in no need of Dajjal talk, of the Mahdi talk. These things are absurd. The Quran doesn't teach these things. So here's what we need. And you're one of the pioneers there. And by the way, let me say something to our brothers and sisters in the UK. You're making us look real bad. Yeah. Mufti, you know what I'm talking about. They come from war-torn countries, deprived of education, and they have basically turned everyone, the Muslims, against one another. But the real group, the real enemy of Islam that has infected the nation, and I'm going to say this, it's this Salafi movement that is more pernicious than COVID-19.
I totally understand and obviously agree with the kind of root sentiments that of what's happening to Islam. I do feel though that there's obviously, I can see that there's so much passion in you that it's all, it's kind of erupting.
I'm just getting warmed up.
The volcanicity, the whole volcano.
But guess what? Let me just interject this. It's out of love for my Muslim brothers and sisters. because I love the regular Muslims. My true enemies, the clergy and these du'ats.
I agree with you that the institutionalization of religion is what has screwed it up with the way the power dynamics, the power play with the clergy and things like this. But I would say that, you know, what happens is at the same time, don't let it kind of raise your blood pressure and things like this. Like kind of, we got to kind of stay calm in these situations, and then hopefully, inshallah, spread the counter message of more compassion, of the voice of reason, things like that, inshallah.
But yeah, I understand, Mufti. I'll let you go. But here's the deal. I think we have to be real. The system that they've created, it's too overwhelming. We don't have enough Muslim academics, sensible Muslims, to give a fresh perspective on this religion. Because I got to tell you, when I read it, I was shocked on some of the things that I found.
What's that?
One of which is this, Mufti. We've been told this lie, and this is, again, perpetuated by the wretched Salafi group that comes from Saudi Arabia. And and the only way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you guys this in the UK. If you want to maintain your faith and you're a sensible person, stop having an Arab-centered view of Islam. It's okay, because Islam is contingent on time and condition. They don't realize this in Saudi Arabia. They want you to go back to the early times of Islam. Yeah, we can. Hey, Mufti, we can do that. We can also do what Ali did to Aisha when they had the Ma'rikatul Jamal, and then they had the Ma'rikatul Safin. And by the way, for you Sunnis, I'm not a Shiite. I'm not a Shiite.
I mean,
but they keep telling us, they give us this, they romanticize the first 3 generations, and yet they're like, we need to go back to these 3 generations because they had profound Islamic knowledge. They implemented it correctly. I said, okay, when I launched an investigation on this, we had the Khawarij, Murji'ah, Qadri, the Shia emerged. You know what's ironic, and I'm going to let you go on this point, Mufti. The Arabs tell us stay away from innovation, and yet they're the ones who introduced these things. So hypocritically and ironically.
I just want to just say one tiny bit there. To be fair, that look, I think when we say Arabs, it's such a diverse community of like almost 30 countries. But I think that this kind of Saudi-centric kind of the Salafi kind of hardline Islam that was promoted from there, because it's not necessarily the same with some Arab countries. Like you've got, for example, one could say Moroccan Islam, which is quite very different in a way, you know, and one could argue maybe, you know, like a different country, Somali. I mean, I'm just saying, like they could Sudanese, they could say, well, so I think with Arab it is a huge thing, but I get what you're saying. Absolutely, I agree with
what I'm saying. Let me do a quick shout out to one of the guys there in the UK, and I'm gonna let you go.
Go for it. Man.
His name is Isa. He was in Speaker's Corner. The brother converted to the religion, and he was trying his best. And of course, when you convert to the religion, you know, the Salafi Islam is so predominant that he was attracted to him initially. He was drawn to him, but I saw he was moving away. The bottom line is this: he was a good brother. He recently passed because, from what I believe, is the COVID-19. And you know what?
Oh,
yes, that wretched. I'm going to call you out. That wretched Shamsi has the audacity to try to question and impugn this brother's faith. What's the matter with you Muslims in the UK? If I were down there in Speaker's Corner, let me tell you something. These people need to be pressed on what they're doing. Mufti, I'm telling you, I'm coming with a lot of energy here.
No, I can feel the energy right here.
Yeah.
It's enough to light up this whole house. And
I know, and I'm looking probably a little bit crazy right now because I got a mask on. But look,
people are thinking Bane is back. They're like,
there's a method to the madness, Mufti. You know what I'm talking about. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, go back to the Quran. Start being sensible. Listen to people like Mufti Abu Layth. Okay, you don't have to agree with everything that he says. Guess what? He's not asking you to. But the thing is this: when you disagree with your Muslim brother, you shake your hand and you walk the other way with kindness and respect. That's what you do. I'm going to reach out to you, Mufti.
Sure, man. Hopefully, you do that, inshallah. I don't know that the person you said. I don't know. I know of him. I don't know him, Shamsi. I don't know the politics he's up to and stuff. But I know that there's bro Haji, who's usually always refuting him. So
well, I'm looking. I'll put this disclaimer out. I'm looking to debate any of those Salafis there in the UK or wherever they are. We can do it anytime. Any
people,
yeah.
reach out. Do it, man.
Brother,
don't worry. Let's do this. Take care, man. Stay blessed.
God bless you, Mufti. Stay up. I'm gonna reach out to you on the through the internet.
Assalamu alaikum. All right, people. A lot of passion there. I think the kind of passion that can, elevate blood pressure levels. So I would advise that, look, although being passionate is awesome, but do be wary. I think sometimes, keep your health in mind, and you gotta take things with a slight distance and arm's length. Right now, quite a few people waiting here. Let's see. We've got all right. We've had for a while waiting Yusuf Qadri. All right, Yusuf Qadri. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Mufti. How are you doing?
I'm good. You're doing it. Where are you connecting from, Yusuf?
From Germany, Hamburg.
Germany. Allah, Allah. This is where it's all happening, man.
Yeah.
So what's going down? What's preoccupying your precious thoughts, Yusuf?
So I'm watching your videos quite a while now. And your Instagram content, which is sometimes really funny.
That's my Insta stories, probably.
I really appreciate your Monday nights and your views, actually. And do you have some new recommendations specifically to fragrances?
Fragrances, know, I recently, I've got these two here. I've been so in love with. I did a review of them recently. This was the Tiziana Terenzi Oud Tarased, and I totally, honestly, I love this, man. Like, and the other one that I did them both together. I think I reviewed. This is why they're still here. It was on the Monday nights. This Tom Ford Grey Vetiver.
Yeah.
Really, and it's underrated for a Tom Ford because it's not as expensive as the other Tom Ford stuff. And it's honestly, I absolutely recommend it, man. If you're into, trying out.
Yeah, I'm really into it.
Any favorites? What do you like?
From this
give brand, me an idea.
Tirani Terenzi, I can recommend Kirke, which is very popular.
I've got that. It's very sweet.
Very
it's
very
I ordered a bunch of the Tiziana Terenzi thing because once I smelt that, I was like, I need everything he's got. So I've got like about 6-7 of his fragrances, or the brand's fragrances downstairs. To be honest, they
also older.
The only other one that I found a bit okay, nothing compared to that. The Kirke was okay.
Yeah.
But some of them were really. What was the other one? Is there a Nero or something? Or
Neroli or something like that.
That was like really strong. There was even there was another that Espirito something.
Okay.
It's called Spirito, but that was okay. It was a bit. I was expecting it to be maybe a bit better than it actually was. Let me see. There is. That's it. Spirito Florentino.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was okay. I mean, but it wasn't quite what. To be honest, this was the only one that I was like totally in love with so far. Maybe 1 or 2 are still yet to arrive in the post, but yeah. Any others that you recommend?
Like from Tom Ford, I can recommend Noir de Noir, which is very
you like that Noir de?
Yeah.
See, Noir de Noir for me is a bit strong, and I don't.
Yeah, it's like something for the winter, or for like this.
You know what you might like then? Have you tried Le Labo's Noir?
No.
That's nice. That's it's like a medium. It's not so strong, but it's if you like the kind of noir things, I liked that. I didn't really like the Tom Ford Noir de Noir, and there's a few actually like that, a bit similar. What is it? Killian, I think the Black to Black, or the
Black
they have
Phantom, or
the Black Phantom, and they have that kind of flavor as well. That's similar.
very strong. I also can recommend like Baccarat Rouge, but the extreme version.
The extreme. I love Baccarat Rouge. I thought that's MFK.
Yeah.
I thought that's something, but that's mainly women's though. Or do you feel men?
Like the Eau de Parfum is very, very on the women's side, but the extreme is like more. It goes more in depth, and it's not so sweet, so it's more like saffron, and
it is very beautiful though. I that is amazing. For women, I think it's amazing. Speaking of Francis Kirk-Jean, there's have you tried the
Oud
no, not that one. Which one?
Oud Satin Mood.
Oh my God, I can't stand that. I can't stand that. I was like, I actually gave mine away to a friend.
Okay.
I bought it. It was so strong, so jasmine-y, kind of like. No, I was gonna say silver fluidity. No, gentle fluidity.
Yeah.
Gentle
fluidity or gold. It's the gold.
No, gentle fluidity. Oh, okay. That is nice. For men, that is nice. I did that for MFK. Definitely. From
MFK, I recommend this travel package. Like they're like small 11 ml bottles.
Yeah.
And there's like a whole collection for like 130 euros, and then you have like the whole package.
Because what I do is, I get really curious, so I buy decants of like whatever. So let's say now I'll explore and I'll come across Damali, the House of Damali. I came across something, and then what I'll do is I'll just buy out every 10 mil or 5 mil or whatever testers of the kind of decants of whatever I can find of that. So Damali, I absolutely love Damali's Layton. That's got, I don't know, do you like that? Does that strike is it a bit soft for you, or is it a bit...
I don't like this apple note, so I'm more like into Harrod from Parfum de Mali.
Oh, Harrod. Right. Yes, that's okay. I've got that, but I didn't. I liked, Layton. I didn't like the exclusive as much, but I liked Layton, and I liked Percival.
Okay.
From Damali.
This one I never tested, but
Percival is right. But if you don't, Percival's nice. It's not a strong, like a loud kind of fragrance, but it's a bit fresh. Kind of, it's got that kind of fresh thing to it. Okay, tell us some other. I'm intrigued. You're really into your fragrances.
I'm really.
It's not often I meet someone who's into their fragrances.
Like I sent you also a recommendation on Instagram. You responded already.
What was the recommendation? Which one?
Frederic Malle.
Yes, I've got one of Frederic. I've got only one or two of Frederic Malle's. But it was an experiment. So what happens is, I come across a new niche kind of brand. And I'll experiment. If it happens to be totally crap, it puts me off the brand. But if it's okay, I'll kind of buy out as many as I can and explore. So the one I got for Frederic Malle, I'm trying to recall which it was, but it wasn't
the Dawn, the Moon. There's the Dawn, the Moon. Like there are the packaging is with Arabic labeling, so this is like Arabic collection. Right. So the Dawn, the Moon, and other fragrances, but they're like on the pricey side.
Yeah, so I usually, like I said, I will go for them as kind of like 10 mil or 5 mil. I'll kind of buy one, try it out. And with the Frederic Malle, it didn't appeal to me at all. So it kind of put me off. It may have just been the one. So I'll try maybe the recommendation one that you're saying, see how that goes.
It's a very strong oud fragrance, like with a fruity note.
Yeah, you see, I'm not into the very strong oud. This, the Tiziana Terenzi oud Tarased is perfect.
Yeah,
oud wood from Tom Ford is brilliant.
But it's not so long lasting. It's not so long lasting. So maybe you can try the intense version. It's like more like it's a stronger version of.
I bought Creed's Royal Oud.
Okay.
And that was okay. And I bought with it the Gucci Oud. So Gucci have done an oud as well. The Gucci one was actually quite nice to me. Like I liked it. Even the Creed one was quite strong. You see, I don't like the ouds that strong. I like them just mid-range, that's all. So, but wow, you're doing it, Yusuf. I admire the one, the passion for perfumery, and two, the knowledge. I like it.
The start was like, okay, I had also this question on Monday night. So is alcohol najas? So I had like this.
You see, I don't feel it's najas. I'm in line with those ulama from the Malikiya that originally felt that it was not najas, including going from Imam Malik's teacher Rabi'atul Ra'i, Az-Zuhri from Medina, the Qarawiyin from many of the ulama of the Qarawiyin of the early Malikiya, including you've got people like Ibn al-Haddad and some others who are from they were quite early, just after Sahnun and that kind of era. They argued that alcohol is not najas. And the dalil for it is, well, once it turns to vinegar, it's fine. And if it was impure, then, you know, really it's still the same thing. The other, and the hadith mentions in Tirmidhi that the Prophet said, the best of the vinegar, ni'ma khallikum khallu khamrikum.
Okay.
That's the Prophet, the best vinegar he liked was the vinegar made out of alcohol. So that's in Tirmidhi. And so they argued that how could this be impure? Now the other scholars say, well, once it turns to vinegar, it becomes pure. And they say, well, you know, that we're not buying that. The other argument was that the hadith in Sahih Muslim shows that when alcohol became haram, they spilt it in the streets of Medina. Medina. So they argue that if it was najas, why would they be spilling it in the streets of Medina? Why not, you know, dump it somewhere on the side? So I'm definitely in line with it's not najasul ayn or any. It's where it's described as najas. This is a kind of like a ma'nawi kind of thing in saying, oh, it's filth. It's not an actual. The way in the Quran it mentions, you know, about the mushrikeen, la yaqrabul masjid al haram ba'da amim hada, that they innamal mushrikuna najas, that they are najas. It's not that they're really najas. They're not physically impure. It's a ritual. It's just something spiritual. That's all. But yeah, that's what I definitely feel with. But Yusuf, it's been an absolute pleasure. Drop me another message. Yeah, go for it.
One last question.
Go for
I would like to build like Islamic base, and I'd like quite discussions with my friends about Aqidah.
Okay.
And I don't really know which Aqidah is like the one which I should follow. So I'm like, okay, on the one side you have the Salafi Aqidah, which there are like the opinions on that. Okay, you should follow them because they are like the best generations after the Prophet, and this whole the division that thinks that the Islam will divide it in 37 groups and all will go to hellfire. And there's like a little bit the skill tripping on there on the Aqidah side, and I'm like on the whole other side and don't know which opinion I should follow. So yeah, I'm reaching to you to give me.
You know, for Aqidah, what I say is that, you know, for Aqidah, Muslims should. This is my. You see, I feel that our Aqidah in essence should be simple, just based on Amantu billahi wa malaikati wa kutubi wa rusuli. Well, you know, this hadith that I believe in Allah, that there's revelation, there's messengers, there's scripture, there's an afterlife, and Allah is all powerful. And then as far as studying, if you want to study in depth, like you want to go into theology, fine. I would say, well, you could study the Ash'ari Aqidah, but you don't need to be blindly following everything that's in there. If you feel something doesn't sit right with you, then fine. You know, this is theology. This is not, you see, I distinguish between Iman and this Aqidah thing, that the Iman really should just be simple. we believe in Allah, we believe in his messengers, we believe in scripture, we believe that life doesn't stop with this world. Khalas. Like the Prophet never told us that there's a set creed, that if you don't believe these 65 things, then you're not a Muslim. So I would say if you're interested in further in studying theology, which is Ilmul Kalam, and then fine, you could, like the books of the Asha'ira are Ilmul Kalam, but I don't feel you need to, if you disagree, you disagree. I don't feel that, they say, oh, if you disagree with this, you're a kafir. No, you're not. That's nonsense. Other scholars did disagree with them. Ibn Rushd disagreed with them. He criticized them. The philosophers often did criticize the mutakallimin, the theologians. But yeah, but an Ash'ari book is fine. Like if you want to go, if you want to get into ilm al-kalam, into theology, then yeah. They're definitely much more engaging than the Hanbali, the Salafi kind of books. The problem with the Salafi books is they are by default anti-theology. Okay. So it's theology books which are against. It's like in essence, imagine somebody's anti-technology, but to read it, you've got to read it on a PDF. So it's strange because it's everything he's talking about is kind of anti-technology, but you have to use technology to access. So it's a bit amusing. But cool, Yusuf, we've got a few people waiting. Do drop me another message on Instagram, so I'll look at your profile and I'll keep it in mind. Any recommendations, you fire away on Instagram, inshallah. Take care, man. Stay blessed. People, that was Yusuf all the way from Germany, people. All right, with a vast knowledge in perfumery. I like it. What is going on? Quite a few people waiting here. We've got someone is trying to enter, but the studio is full. Oh my god, there's people at the bottom. I didn't even see them. There's 2 rows. And okay, so if you've been right, so I can actually, it's okay. Right, so if I've already spoken to you guys, then in that case, if you remove yourself from the, I'll do it. So once I've spoken to you, I'll remove you from the studio so other people can come on. Right, all right, who have we got here? Saeed Khalifa. All right, let me.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum assalam, Saeed.
How are you doing?
You're doing it. All this while we're looking out for the Khalifa, and here he is. MashaAllah. Where are you connecting from, Saeed?
I'm from Calgary, Canada, right now.
Canada, all right.
The west side.
West side. The west side. So what's preoccupying your precious thoughts, man? What's going on, Saeed?
So, Sheikh, just going back to the brother that passed, to the passionate one, I do agree that the a lot of the Saudi funding that happens with different mosques abroad and different madrasas is not being talked about. There's really an institutionalization of religion that's happening when it comes to kind of pushing Wahhabism, Salafism down our throats. I definitely see that.
But I've said this, that I 100% agree with this, that but on one hand, I feel like, and I put myself in this with, let's say, non-Salafi people, and then I feel like giving a huge slap on our own faces for kind of like, why are we so sloppy at the game? Like, why is there no decent institutional Arabic website that kind of can counterbalance responses? Like, why does, even Al-Azhar has a very it's not an optimized website. Qarawiyyin, one of the oldest institutes of Sunni learning, Maliki, rich, plethora of knowledge. Look, like Salafis only have Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Qayyim. Yeah. 2 people who they've really just rely on. The backbone of their madhab is really Ibn Taymiyyah and at times Ibn Qayyim. Yeah. They have bloody, if there was a manuscript of Ibn Taymiyyah that had been somehow through time travel eaten by Tyrannosaurus Rex, they would bloody dig that up and put it back into publication. Yeah. Have you seen the amount of books they've brought to life of him? I'm telling you, Ibn Taymiyyah himself must be having a heart, like he must be like, what the hell is going? He must be like, half of that I just wrote as a joke. And you guys have brought it back to life. They've brought everything to life. You know, like I was in this bookshop. I was in Morocco last year, and I was in this bookshop here, massive bookshop, and this whole bloody, it was like something like I don't know, like let's say you've got literally, it was a huge thing. So you've got something like 15 meters, yeah, which is huge of like, and that's just length. And then you've got like height as well, going right up, stacked with books, all for sale, amazingly bound, well printed, all just Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah, and maybe 1-2 others. Now, where is that dedication for the rest of the Sunni scholars? Like Ibn Taymiyyah was a great scholar, but you know, he's nothing compared to the other scholars.
But that's the thing, is that there's a lot of funding that goes to that. You know, we don't have our own non-Salafi funding or institution that's backing us. You know, like and that's what makes it's kind of a plus if you think about it, because our Shia brothers, they have the Ayatullahs, and they're institutionalized in that sense. They have the Sistani, and they have the Khamenei and all that. And I feel like this is kind of something that's happening here with us, like the Sunnis, with this kind of pushing, like trying to put Ibn Taymiyyah down our throats, which Allah yarhamu rahimahullah, but we have other scholars and
we have giants compared to Ibn Taymiyyah. But the question is, why not? Like, I think I agree, money could be an issue, but I feel that there's money in the Arab world. There is in the Sunni world as well. There is money, and it doesn't even cost sometimes that much, but I feel there's also a lack of, I don't know, like there's maybe a lack of initiative, a lack of, I don't know, because look, how difficult would it be for, let's say, the religious ministry, or the Ministry of Religious Affairs in, let's say, Morocco, to just pay the salary of like 3 young graduates, a small team for a year, to set up, digitalize an entire website that's functional, and it brings up all the fatwa of the old ulama. It wouldn't cost them that much to pay, some youngsters who are kind of like tech savvy, just a year's salary.
Yeah, that's true.
For a government, I mean, that's nothing. It's peanuts for a government. I mean, for, you could say, well, you and me doing it, but for a government to just get a small team of some who are looking for work, some graduate students or undergrad, whoever, people that can just type up, bring stuff up. They've got the books. They just need to get them. And a lot of these books are already electronic. It's about just organizing and putting questions and, organizing a website that's interactive. It's difficult for me. It's difficult for you, probably. I mean, it's difficult but for a group funded by a government, it's nothing. But I don't think there's there isn't that thirst, that kind of, they're not hungry to do this. They're like, it's like, if somebody does it, they do it, but there's no, and that's, this is often the problem with a majority. Like Sunnis are the majority, ain't they?
Yeah.
And the problem whereas with minorities, you always find there's an extra impetus to kind of, like there's greater collaboration, there's more, like they stick together a lot more, and they will put a lot more, they take it a lot more seriously. Like you get any minority, like you get Ahmadi Qadiani Muslims, for example, tiny minority, but because they're a minority, they will cling together even more. They will make sure they've got functional websites, TV channels, they've got stuff. You get any minority of people that become a minority, and they start working really hard. I don't know, I feel. But I agree. I wish there is something, inshallah, soon. I would really love it. Honestly, I do most of my research online, just Googling and in Arabic, and it's so difficult finding stuff. You have to know exactly what you're looking for to find it. But if you want to go to a Salafi page, they come straight up.
Yeah.
Everything, Sheikh Munajjid, Sheikh, whatever, it's right there. Bang on. Yeah.
Sheikh, can I ask you a question?
Go for it, Saeed. Go for it.
So, you know, Hadith Jibreel, when apparently he approaches the Prophet and he asks him, "Khabirni anil Islam, wal Iman, wal Ihsan," and then he asks him about time, right? First of all, what do you make of this Hadith? And also, why is the Ihsan component, do you feel, is very neglected nowadays? Or it's not stressed enough? And you know, you get a lot of people, you see, when you talk to a lot of people about, for example, tazkiyah or something, they call you like a Sufi and all that. But yani, you know, don't you feel like it's kind of like the meat and potatoes of religion, is the kind of the a'mali, or the behavioral, the way we kind of approach our a'mal with other people and all that? Isn't that related to ihsan, and isn't that kind of what religion is here for?
I agree with you that, look, the deen, when we're going to think about it, in this hadith, it is a very beautiful hadith when you think about it, that, what is Iman, Islam, and Ihsan. And it's really strange even how the definition of Ihsan is given in the hadith. It's a sense of, first of all, it's that it's as though you can see God. And that's really interesting from a kind of transcendental experience, and almost like this exploring a different cosmos kind of. But then it's suddenly brought back that, but wait, like, most people aren't going to be into that. Most people are not going to be. Okay, then that God watches you. وإلا, it says that أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. If you're not transcending this cosmos, and then you become self-aware. You become aware of your actions, aware of your. But even greater self-awareness is so. It ties into so many things. It ties into morality. It ties into. It's so. Because we're all aware of ourselves to some extent. It's like a spectrum. Like, obviously, if something, we have like sensation and perception, oh, I hurt my hand, oh, I touched something hot and I react, and oh, I know somebody is looking at me. But then there's a greater self-awareness. Like, how do I measure as in terms of values to myself? And I think that is the higher maqam, the maqam of humanity. That is really what religion is ultimately about. But you're right, it isn't. Today, unfortunately, the ihsan angle is either forgotten, or it's kind of been wrapped up in just Sufic orders. Like, it's not necessarily about that kind of humanity and compassion. It's more about kind of tasawwuf, in the sense of, okay, do dhikr, become part of this group called Qadariya, or become the Chishti, or become this kind of Naqshbandi, or become something, and that is ihsan. I don't think that's what the hadith was talking necessarily about, this kind of ihsan of kind of doing dhikr and worship like that. Although I'm sure that can be seen through that angle, but it was more about humanity, actualizing as a human being, self-actualizing. So I agree with you that there is a deficit in religion, in many religions, especially religion with a capital R, including Islam today, as it's being practiced. People assume, you ask somebody, why don't you become religious? Because they assume it's kind of anti-humane. Like, they feel that religion ironically gives you less rights than modern day ethics does. And that's a shame, because I don't see Islam in that way. But I can understand why people are seeing it in that way. Yeah. But Said, shukran for your thoughts, man. Dearly appreciate it.
Thank
If
you very
you are
much, Mufti.
on Instagram or one of the sites, drop me a message. I'll look out for your profile.
Sounds good.
Take
Sheikh,
care, man.
just make me dua, please.
No,
Just,
may Allah
dua.
make things easy for you and bless you, man. Yes,
Jazakallah
Allah. Assalamu alaikum. All right, people. We've got Raj Speaker's Corner. Yeah. Am I in the Speaker's Corner? Allah. Go on then.
Okay, da.
Okay,
TikTok?
da, Paji.
Hey, Paji, man. Yeah, how you doing, man?
Balle.
The thing is, yeah, like, I know, yeah. The thing is that I won't take too much of your time, but I watched your video on the Hagia Sophia Mosque, and let me tell you, you knocked that out of the park with your kind of like, let's just say your rationalization of what do you do with religious sites that have been converted to somebody else's religion. So, you know, in India, there's lots of mosques that were once mandars. I don't agree with them being destroyed.
I agree. And in fact, right now, the whole Ram Mandir thing is going on right now. The reenact. I mean, they're going to be kind of laying the foundations, and I totally agree, because I feel that, look, we are in a day and age, Raj, where what's the need to be insecure about one's faith? Like, if a person has a faith, that's good. You don't need to. If something was once upon a time a masjid or a mandir or a gurdwara, it was once upon a time a church, then, okay, fine, it was. And I'm sure before that, it may have been something else. It may have been. But if it's been left for decades in this particular way, whatever it is today, whether it's a library today or it's a museum or it's something else, khalas. I mean, do we really need to show our display of our strength by saying, let's turn this into a masjid, let's turn this into all we're going to do is ruffle feathers. And I actually felt that particular thing was very political. It was just.
Well, we got the same situation. There's a gurdwara called. Tell me if I'm talking too much or where you want to chat me off.
Go for it.
Because I'll be honest, I'll take over your show, man. I'm not gonna lie to you, buddy. Anyone that knows me, but you're a big personality, so you can put me in check here. So the thing is that I've watched you for quite a while. I know Raza and them lot quite a while. You know Raza?
Yeah. Raza,
so me and Raza are supposed to meet up soon, because I'm one of the only Sikhs that go Speaker's Corner. I don't know if you've seen me there.
Right now, I don't watch too much of it, but I may have seen you in some of the videos. And
I'm kind of ranting like, So for me, I went there with one view 3 years ago.
Okay.
And I've kind of adjusted my view, so I'm trying to kind of build bridges rather than. I mean, I did support Tommy Robinson at one point. Not anymore. 6 months ago, I kind of left. I was known as Tommy Robinson. I am a pro Punjabi Khalistani. So Ban India, Ban Pakistan as well. So you hear a lot of anti-Pakistan rhetoric. But the thing is that, so with Raza, me and him are going to meet up, because I've always found that whenever I speak to a Muslim and they say to me that, call me an Islamophobe, and then I ask them, what do you think of Shias or Sufis? And then they start saying they're X, Y, Z and abuse them. Then I'm like, dude, you can't call me an Islamophobe, because you're more Islamophobic than me, because you're abusing your own minorities within your own particular religion. And one thing I realized with you, don't take offense, when I first listened to you, Hastasi Saradin, ha ha ha, oh God, ki karta, ha ha ha. So like, sometimes it's hard to take you seriously.
I get that.
But then I watched your video on the Hagia Sophia, and I was like, dude, this guy's got some freaking like real poignant things to say. I actually played the video to put people into their places like 5 times the other week, and I said, look, I've got to somehow get in contact with Mufti and have a chat with him, because I think the thing is that when it comes to religious places, like I said, like I'm against Hindus that are, the BJP and Modi and stuff like this, as much as I'm against, like these kind of like real hardcore Islamist parties in Pakistan.
And I would agree with you. I'm as much against them as you possibly are, or as anybody is. I mean, this was my point on, you see, this rise of recent fascism and populism. Like, I don't see why people are feeling so insecure to stamp some authority or to, look, people disagree, and there's been historical differences on all sides. And, there's been let's say between religions, people have had clashes historically. It doesn't mean, I know obviously even within the Sikh faith, within Muslims, the whole thing, Aurangzeb, you've got
I was spitting the
you know,
floor
the whole
every time
thing.
someone says his name.
Yeah, no, you know, Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib, and you've got this whole thing that has happened, and then Guru Gobind Singh. But to be fair, I mean, you know, they history, whatever's happened, I mean, Aurangzeb wasn't no angel, and where he did wrong, you know.
Well, the thing is that I try and explain to people that are not from the South Asian diaspora, which I meet a lot, that, you know, you've got to understand there's thousands of, I'm not sure where you're from, but I'm Punjabi, and there's thousands of years of history of people in that area that, you know, it's hard to forget. But the thing is that, you know, I'm not anti-Muslim. Like by Mardana, I'm a Sikh artist, and one day I'll show you my artwork. But by Mardana is a Muslim.
Yeah, exactly. And
I've done his drawing.
And I've said this, that, you know, that Guru Gobind, I mean, going right to Guru Nanak Dev Ji Sahib, you're going to see that his Mardana was one of his closest friends.
And his descendants are still in Pakistan. And the Sikhs respect them highly. So my issue is, I do say this, and I do trigger people a lot. I say, like, a lot of Sunnis seem to think they got the right sect. I believe in some ways, you know, some of the practices, they become very hardcore in a lot of ways, some of them. And the thing is that the Islam that, you know, I believe to be true is the Islam of Bhai Mardana and Baba Farid and Baba Kabir and them lot. Is that controversial? For me as a Sikh, that's the Islam I've got to accept.
And it's you know, and it's really interesting that was the Islam that flourished in India at that time, it all being India. It was the Islam of Nizamuddin, the Islam of Baba Fariduddin. It was the Islam. Yeah, I mean, Akbar was just very accommodating, but I mean the people who were followed, the kind of figures, religious figures who were followed by the people as religious figures, authorities. They were very, you know, Bulle Shah, these kind of people. They weren't this, you know, this recent hardline Taliban kind of people. They weren't, because Islam, in essence, was meant to just take the color of whatever kind of ground as a stream would just flow over. And in India, that was the kind of flavor it took, and it gelled well. And this recent kind of hardline militant, which has really just been, unfortunately, I feel, in the last few decades, it's kind of been pumped in a lot more.
Well, you know what? I'm from the area of Waltham Forest there. If you know what Waltham Forest is the second largest Pakistani Punjabi community in the UK.
Okay, well,
not in London, in the UK. I mean, you're talking about like Bradford. When I was growing up, I'm telling you straight now, like Muslims were not most of the kids now, are like very religious. But when I was growing up, these Pakistani guys had Christmas trees in their house, or saying Happy Christmas, Happy Diwali. I'd say Happy Eid.
Yeah, and you know the funny thing, Raj, is that I said this, you know, I as a kid.
Sorry, you dressed as a Father Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I did that to wind people up as well. But as a child in the 80s, I grew up in Birmingham in Handsworth, which was a very Sikh area when I grew up. But it was mixed. But the point was, our families, you know, we're Muslim. They weren't necessarily that religious, but most of the Pakistani families that were there, for example, we all did things like had Christmas trees. I grew up, every year we would just have a Christmas tree, and we never saw this as, oh my God, our faith is now being compromised. And
it's a bit like the Gurdwara. I mean, I used to have people come to the Gurdwara, you know, and now some people say, if you go in the Gurdwara, you're doing shirk or something. It's like, no, if you want to just respect someone's holy place, if I walk into a mosque, I don't have to believe in Islam to walk into a mosque.
No, of course
I can just go in there and respect the place. Okay, you know, just to see what people are doing. And I think over the years, I've seen it with my own eyes that the people I grew up with, their kids are much more intolerant in a way to other people's kind of way of life. I'm not talking about in a bad way, but in a sense that they don't want to say Happy Christmas, they don't want to say Happy Diwali, they don't want to say this. And I think that's how you build bridges with communities. If I say to you right now, Happy Eid, Do I need to believe in Eid for me to say that?
Of course not. And you know, I'll tell you something that I'm not so sure how familiar you are with Handsworth in Birmingham, but this thing you mentioned about the Gurdwara. Now, Handsworth has, I'm pretty sure it's it's a very large Gurdwara on Soho Road.
Yeah,
I think it's called Guru Nanak Gurdwara. I forgot the name. That dome. Now, I used to teach religious studies for several years, so we used to take classes to different religious places. We took them to the Gurdwara. Now, when they tell you the story of the dome, that they've got this golden dome there, it was actually built by a Muslim who just volunteered to build it. Yeah, so they said that whilst we were building it, they said this person came past, and I think he was a Pakistani, but who had lived in Saudi Arabia for so many years, and he was a builder who specialized in building domes. So he saw that they were building this, and he went in, and he said to them that, look, I'd like to, contribute my service and build a dome. So they did say to him that, look, this is Sikh, just in case you're mixing it up, that this isn't. And he said that, look, it's a house of God, isn't it? And he did not charge them for that. They told the story, and they told it very proudly. They told the whole class on every visit. And this thing, you do not need, today, we, like you're saying, people, they say, oh, if they go to, they're doing shirk. If you went to a masjid, some people would be like, oh my God, what's this Sikh doing here? This is our insecurities of kind of burning bridges. Like, we ultimately, is this not just a human family? Ultimately, should these not be the bridges that bind us together?
And the thing is, we're in the UK. Can I just tell me to jump off when you want me to jump off? And just tell me when you're fed up with me, man. But the thing is that, like, the issue. Look, we're living in the UK. Yeah, I'm a British Punjabi Sikh. Yeah, you can't change that. And when you're in the UK, like, you've got to build bridges with your neighbors, whether they're Muslims, Christians, or whatever. And one way you can do that is when someone's got a religious event, you say Happy Christmas or thingy or whatever. You don't need a tree in your house. Obviously, a tree is going a bit far, or dressing up as Father Christmas is going a little bit too far. No offense, dude. But like, it's like, just a way to build bridges with other communities. And I found that over the last, maybe, and it's something that I've never seen before until like the last 15, 20 years, that, even saying something like Happy Diwali is seen as like, a big sin.
Yeah, but this is that point that I'm saying, that I feel that people think like that people are feeling insecure. You see, when people react, this was my point, that, look, you see, when we were kids and we had Christmas trees, we didn't for a moment think that compromised our identity as Muslims. Like, we just didn't think that. Like, we just thought, oh yeah, it's Christmas, everybody puts it up in the UK, we put it up. We didn't think, like, we didn't feel that this is, oh my God, like, my iman, my faith is being brought into question. Like, by saying, oh, when it was Diwali in school, when we were in primary schools or secondary, saying Happy Diwali wasn't oh my God, am I... Today, there seems to be this heightened insecurity that I need to assert my faith. And if I do anything, it compromises it easily. And that's why I felt it ties in with this point you're making, that it's a shame, an absolute shame. I agree with you 100%. But I feel that hopefully people can work towards eliminating these insecurities. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not going to lose my faith and identity by...
You're hated quite a lot, though.
Oh, yeah.
When I go to speaker school, I say, what do you think of Mufti? He's a kuffar, great kuffar, bigger kuffar than you, yeah? And, like, you speak as a compliment, because the people that say it are normally really extreme, yeah? Like, some of the guys that I speak to, that, because, like, when I first went to speaker school, I was a lot more hardcore in terms of my beliefs and stuff. Over the years, you meet people. Even I've met a lot of...
We live, we learn, we live.
Yeah, I meet a lot. I mean, a lot of people say, speaker school is bakwas. It's rubbish. It's just what tamasha. If you go in there, so anyone that knows what tamasha means, it's like a circus. So I've said to Sikhs, they've said, like, should we come now? I said, no. If you're coming there to talk about religion, don't come. If you're going there to argue and have a good kind of heated debate, I love that shit. I live for it. So for me, I don't ever go there to talk about religion. And this is one thing I see about the Dawa team as well, because I know Shamsi's all right with me. I know he's a Madkali, whatever they call him. Ali Dawa stopped speaking to me 2 years ago. He hates me.
Okay.
Hijab, I don't know. He's always touching my shoulder like a weirdo. It's a bit creepy. Taweed wanted to beat me up once.
Okay.
I know all of these guys quite well. Yeah, like we've got like a long-standing relationship, and it's gone back and forth. But the thing is that over the time, you start to realize that a lot of these guys there, when it comes to religion, Speaker's Corner is not for religion.
No, it's not.
You need to. You made a good choice not going. If you're going there for religion,
no, yeah, I would. This is why when I've been asked on Monday nights with Mufti, would you go there? I've said what for? Like, what is these places of exactly how you describe them? Therefore, it's that kind of. It's just like shouting and arguing, and if you want to go there for that, fine. But that's what it's for. It's not.
And
really
I'm a freaking perfectionist at that, man. I'm like, I know how to troll hard. So even Ali, like, so what it is here, it's like, but if you ever want to come down for political talks, it's good for politics. Like, but the thing I find quite sad is like, I meet a lot of Shias and Sufis and stuff there, and they can't be open about being Shias and Sufis. They're kind of like, Raj, you know what? Yeah, I'm a Sufi, I'm a Shia. I'm like, why don't you just say it? They're like, oh, we're going to get stick if we're open about it. So there's a real kind of like suppression for them. And even myself, I've had a lot of abuse. Like just walking around, I'm gonna knock your rag off, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Obviously, I'm not the most polite person myself, calling people certain names and stuff. But one of the things I'm gonna like, I don't know if you want to do it. I don't know if you ever do kind of themes on shows and stuff, because I need to go. But do you ever would you ever do a show on religious places? Like,
sure. I mean, I have a podcast series called Mind Trap. Mind Trap with Mufti, and on there we I bring on a guest and we discuss stuff, and usually whatever topic, it's like just a natural flowing topic. So I mean, I could.
I mean, if you get Raza, because obviously I know Raza quite well. I suppose.
I mean, Raza, I think is awesome. I have a very good, he's a very good friend. I WhatsApp him every now and then, and in fact, just a couple of days ago, I sent him a voice note. He sent me a voice note, and I agree that it's wrong. There is this wrongful kind of persecution. Even if it's not, sometimes it can be physical, but even if it's not physical, it
has become physical. It has been. He got chased around the park, didn't he?
I did see that clip. But even if it's not physical, but it's still unacceptable. Even if it's verbal, if it's psychological, I feel that, look, and I've actually, and this was why I did a whole, they came down, we did this whole interview, and I said that, look, it's really important we build bridges with different communities, and intrafaith and interfaith, like both, like, Shia, different people within Muslims and people outside of Islam. It's 2020, man.
With me, I'm not. Look, if you look up, for the, I don't want to touch upon it too much, but I've had experiences over the last couple of years, and so my views became very, what I call kind of not hardcore, but let's just say dogged in their kind of like my approach. But one thing I did do, I went Speaker's Corner with a kind of mindset of like, I want people to listen to me, and I had to be loud to do it. Like being one Sikh at Speaker's Corner with outnumbered 400 from different needs. I can't be a wallflower. I can't say, hello, everybody, listen to me. I had to go, down, people facing that. In a way, it did work. Everyone noticed who I am. But on the negative, I got a lot of people's backs up. And so what I've done after the coronavirus, I thought, all right, I want to start kind of building bridges with people, sort of trying to discuss issues and stuff. One of the things that I've always found quite interesting is the when Muslims cuss me about my bug.
Do they?
Yeah, they call me raghead. They say, I'm going to knock your rag off. You got a cum rag. And what I was going to do with Raza was to do a show where we discuss kind of like, the turban in Pakistan. Because the thing is not
the strange thing is that many Muslims believe that the turban, I mean, this is Muslims, whether it may not be shared by the Sikh community, but they feel that Guru Nanak Ji, that may have been inspired by Muslims actually with the turban, because he traveled to places like Baghdad, and he traveled to, he could speak Farsi, most likely could speak Arabic. And he definitely traveled to the Arab countries.
Yeah, he went to Saudi. I mean, I did a drawing called The Five Udassis. So it's about his travels around the world. So he definitely moved. But one of the things, if you ever want to do a show, I'll put my email about religious, because right now it's quite poignant. It's the Hagia Sophia, and then you got the Gurdwara called Baitaru Singh's Gurdwara in Pakistan, that there's some guy was threatening to knock it down and stuff. And on top of that, the turban issue, because that's the one thing I've always found confusing when I hear like people saying we're going to knock your rag off or this or you understand. And then I look at Pakistanis in Punjab and the other side, they wear pagga as well.
I mean, my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, wore like I suppose a pagdi his whole life. Yeah. I mean, and he wore like that dhoti style and that very kind of Punjabi kind of. I mean, we are from Azad Kashmir technically, but we are Jat as a kind of caste. So, which is just origin is from Punjab. So that's how he dressed his entire life.
What I'll do is I'll leave my email address and I'll try and get in contact with you. If you want to do it, like, get me on as a guest and maybe get around.
Are you on Instagram, by the way?
I'm not on Instagram. I'm mainly on YouTube and Facebook and stuff. So if you just put my email address.
Sure. Or what I'll do, if you don't want to share it publicly, then I'll drop Raza a message if you're in touch with him, WhatsApp him, and he'll just kind of forward it across and put us in touch. Anyway, but cool, man. I really appreciate this.
I appreciate you talking as well. And the thing is that I apologize if you listen to some of my videos. There's going to be a lot of anti-Pakistani.
Don't worry, man. It's all look. If you can't air your views, what can you possibly do?
Well, that's the thing. I think at least what you see with me is what you get. I'm not one of these fake people, like all religious in front of your face, and then they, in the mosque or in the Gurdwara, and then when they're outside, they're drinking and doing partying and stuff like that, doing something opposite. So, anyway, man, Mufti, it was good.
Man, take care, man. Likewise, inshallah. Take care. Stay blessed. Over and out. All right, people. Raj from Speaker's Corner. All right, diversifying the crowd there. Peoples, what is going on? What is going on? Maum, you accomplished more in a civil conversation with Raj than the Hyde Park. I believe fundamentally human beings are generally, this is not about a person, this is generally, they are inclined to goodness. Like people, they have no reason to just want to hate or just want to fight or just, it's situations that make that happen. So if you can treat somebody with a bit of respect, they will be respectful in most cases back to you. So I think, we've got quite a few people waiting here. Damn, let me bring in some. All right. Bhai. There's a Bhai. Yaar, Bhai kaun hai yaar? Let's bring in Bhai. Huh? Bhai is fi sin Isa. Muhammad ibn Rushd. That's an extract from. All right. Is that how it works? Wow. Okay. So he's sharing a screen. All right. I like the way you're doing this. I got to figure this technology out. I end up sharing the wrong screen. There goes a scandal. They're like, yes, this is an extract from Al Bayan wa Tahsil. You thought I don't know. You thought I don't know these things. I'm the one that's given this reference to people. People didn't even know. That's where Imam Malik is speaking about Jesus when he passed away. وَمَاتَ ibn 33 sana. So where Malik says that Jesus died, and then Ibn Rushd gives his interpretation, and that's fine. That's Ibn Rushd. That's his interpretation. You can take it, you can leave it, but it does not mean that. But Imam Malik was very clear about his own belief. Right. So people, who we got here? We've got Ahmed Shuaib. All right, let's bring him on, people.
Assalamu alaikum, Mufti.
Assalamu alaikum, Ahmed. You're doing it. All right. What's going on? Where are you connecting from, Ahmed?
I'm actually from the UK. Yeah.
UK. Look at that. Is that gamer's chair?
Yeah.
All right. Gaming. So what's going on, man, Ahmed? What's preoccupying your precious thoughts?
I watched your Mind Trap episode a few days ago about Shahzad Salim. I'm actually a student, so I was actually quite interested in seeing what's going on there. And so I was just wondering, have you ever done any research on the Al-Mawrid organization as a whole, like what they're about?
The who, sorry? The Mawrid.
Al-Mawrid, yeah. So,
oh, you're talking about, sorry, Javed Ram?
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. So there's just a comment here about Lupe. Oh, right. Well, don't say Lupe's on here. Is Lupe on here by any chance? If he is, no, I don't think so. But yeah, right, yeah. I mean, I don't know about research, but in the sense, like, I'm obviously familiar with, Allama Javed Ramdi Saab. I'm in awe of him. I love him. I've watched so many of his videos and clips over the years. In addition to, I'm in touch with his son-in-law, Maulana Hassan, on WhatsApp. We occasionally kind of share messages and stuff, and that's about it, really. I'm not with Dr. Shehzad. When I got in touch with him, I didn't initially know that he was. He then obviously told me he was a student of Javed Ramdi Saab and the whole thing. I didn't know that until he told me. I thought he knew him, and he does some of the interviews, but I didn't realize he was that close. So yeah, I mean, but do tell us. I mean, tell us, what would you like to share about it?
I mean, basically, my entire journey with Islam was like, I'm 15 right now. So when I was 13, I started watching,
15?
Yeah.
You're doing it. You need to be asleep. It's 2:41 in the UK.
It's been like this since lockdown.
Teenagers nowadays, man. Teenagers.
So
you were saying, so your whole journey with Islam.
Yeah, so like it's 2 years long. So with Imran ibn Mansour, I was like a hardcore Salafi, music as haram. I tried to delete all the pictures off my phone and everything. And then I came across your videos and I thought that who is this guy, who's saying random things. And then my dad actually, he stepped in. He was like, okay, this is enough now. Listen to these people. And Shehzad Salim, I got in contact with him. And then I've started watching you recently, and your views, they seem, I mean, now with an open mind, they actually seem quite good. I was just wondering, have you Hamiduddin Farahi, maybe you do, maybe you don't, he's like the faraway teacher of Ghamdi Saab. Have you had any thoughts about his Nizamul Quran, like the 7?
Yes. I haven't. I am familiar with Sheikh Hamiduddin Farahi and his work on the Quran, on Nazm of the Quran. Like, so what he's saying is that the Quran, he's not only saying it, Muslims generally have said that, look, the Quran has a coherence to it. So he has elaborated on that coherence, how verses tie into other verses. I don't know about the 7 thing you're saying particularly, and I haven't read his, unfortunately, I haven't read his books. I am familiar that this is what his work was on, Nazm al-Quran, but I haven't actually gone into it in much detail. Was there something, the 7 something? I'm not so familiar with that.
Basically, I think it's in Surah Hijr where it says that the Sab'a Mathani, he says that basically the Quran is in 7 distinct chapters, each have its overall topic. And then there's pairs of surah, because Mathani means in pairs. The pairs of surahs, they have a topic, and then the surah has a topic. And from that, every single ayah in the Quran, it can only have one meaning. You know how these scholars, like, for example, Nauman Ali Khan, he says this, it could mean this, it could mean that, it could mean this, it could mean that. He says that there can only be one true meaning, basically. Okay. And that's taken from this entire overarching concept.
Right. Okay. So that's interesting. Okay, that's interesting. You see, my own position is slightly different. I do feel that verses in the Quran have what I call superpositions, taking it from quantum physics. That I feel that they can, by default, they have a superposition. So it's not, it can, I know, like, I could read a verse and it could mean this to me now and it could mean that to you later on, but one would argue which was the default meaning. So I would say that it allows both by default, or 3, or whatever it is by default. But yeah, I mean, Sheikh Hamiduddin has had a huge impact on the Indian subcontinent, and especially of late with Javed Ramdi Saab. He has really revived this whole Farahi school. But it is that line as well, like people like Noman Ali Khan is still that kind of line of thinking, that line of teaching, focusing on the Quran and its nazm, the coherence of it. But yeah, I appreciate that, man, and I appreciate you mentioning him, because he is somebody who I feel his legacy, I feel we need to diversify the legacy of the Indian subcontinent as for Indian subcontinent Muslims, because right now it just seems it's either Deobandi, Brelvi, or Salafi, Ahl Hadith. And the truth is, it wasn't. It was like so many, but they just kind of just fossilized. And these other ways of thinking, people like Hamiduddin Farahi, people like Tamanna Imadi, people like all these other ways of thinking. So yeah, I absolutely appreciate that. Ahmed, you're doing it, man. Do you speak to Dr. Salim much?
Quite often. I have a class with him 3 times a week. Yeah.
Do extend my love and salam when you speak to him. Say that I thinking much about him, and we've got to do our next, inshallah, mind trap. I did say to him we've got to do another mind trap.
And cool. I wanted to actually ask for your opinion on one thing, because for this for me was actually quite an eye opener. You know how it's actually a quite famous view of Javed Ghamdi, which cause people to call him a kafir and call him and stuff like that. But basically he says that no hadith is needed to interpret the religion. That everything in the religion of Islam is in the Quran and the Sunnah. Now people say the Sunnah is hadith, what are you saying? He says that the Sunnah is with the ijma and the tawatur of the Muslims, the same way like the Quran. The Quran came, every day it was recited, every Muslim knew that the Qira'atul Amma at least was the Qira'atul Amma. He said the same way the Salah, Hajj, Zakah, everything. So what are your views on this? Because some people say that there's no hadith.
You see, I don't know if you've watched many of my videos. You see, I call this I've spoken of this thing. So first of all, this is nothing new. Javed Ghamdi, so the Sunnah and Hadith distinction is made in the Maliki madhab and in the Hanafi madhab. So these two already make that distinction. So they say a Hadith is not the Sunnah. So Imam Malik says in the Muwatta that, look, I don't, this is like, he teaches you that this hadith has come, we don't take it. And he would say popularly that it's the practice we take, the amal of Ahl al-Madinah, over these ahad riwayat. So this practice is what I've referred to in my talks as the living tradition. So the living tradition is the inherited practice of Islam that was applied on a daily basis. So I would perhaps even go, I think we're talking about the same thing, what Javed Ghamdi Sahib is talking about, I think, but he's calling it maybe Sunnah Mutawatira, he's calling it something else. I'm referring to it as the living tradition, that it is the fiqh that we practiced. The fiqh was transmitted from parent to child over generations, and this was the living tradition of Islam. So Muslims knew that we pray 5 times a day, they knew that alcohol is haram, they knew these things through that living tradition. The hadith was just there, it was more an academic pursuit. People were not learning fiqh through hadith. And fiqh had its own modes of preservation. So yes, I agree pretty much in that. In fact, I've been saying, more or less the same or a similar thing. I don't know if it is the same because I haven't heard Javed Ghamdi in detail about that, but I assume we're saying the same kind of thing, even if there's different nuances to it. But yeah, so I absolutely agree with that. The living tradition of Islam is what preserved how we understand Islam.
Okay, I have one question and then an invitation for you. So,
go for it. Go on then.
Basically, all of this kalam, all of this philosophy and learning about the Ashari school, the Maturidi, I find it very, very hard to believe that, in their books they write that, like in al-Khariyatul Bahiyya, that to be a mukallaf, you need to know all of these things. Now, I don't understand how someone perhaps in a village in Punjab, he is supposed to know all of these things to be accountable. He is supposed to know all of these intricate reasonings. So what would you suggest that it's really necessary to go into these things to learn them, or just the Quran and stuff like that?
No, it's not like, this is the thing that, Ibn Rushd al-Jad, the great Muslim Maliki scholar from Muslim Spain, the grandfather. So there's two Ibn Rushd, the grandson, the philosopher, al-Faylasuf, and the grandfather, who's more faqih. Now, he has a whole discussion on this where he speaks about that these theologians have gone mad, that they're trying to say, no, because he himself is a hardline Ash'ari, but he is an Ash'ari. But he is saying that, look, some of these Asharis are losing the plot. Like, they're saying that there is, that basically every Muslim that reaches to this stage, it is wajib for them to do this and to say this. Otherwise, they become a kafir. Or if they don't do, there's wujubun nadhar, there's wujubun this, that once they become baligh, they have to start pondering and affirming this and affirm. And he says, look, just chill out. Like, he says that, look, people have their iman. It's okay. Like, for people who want to come into ilmul kalam, it's fine. You come into it, you learn these things. But I've highlighted this, especially with my Jesus discussion, which once again, very similar to what Javed Ghamdi Saab is saying as well. But I've highlighted that the irony is that, people have critiqued me in saying, well, this is not the Sunni position. And first of all, I've debated that. But the point is, they've tried to say you have to follow, you have to believe in Jesus coming back because it's written in the Aqidah book. Now, the irony I've said is, according to the theologians, according to people like, As-Sam'ani and these people in Qawati al-Adillah or other books, they will write by consensus of the theologians, it is haram to do taqleed in Aqidah. So if it's haram to do taqleed in Aqidah, how can you expect me to blindly follow any point of Aqidah? So, yeah, I wouldn't personally pay too much attention to when they say things like that. It's just people on a power trip. That's all.
You were asking about some resources on the website, and that's actually why I wanted to say that I've written in the chat. There's a forum called Ask Gandhi, and basically, if you could come on, maybe whenever you have some spare time, answer a question or two. I think that the people there would really love to talk to you and everything.
Is there? Wow, what is this? A website? Sure, inshallah.
Yeah, it's a website, and
it's called Ask Ghamdi.
Ask Ghamdi. Yeah, I put it in the chat as well.
Sure.
Anyway.
Okay. I'll look
Thanks so much, Mufti.
Most welcome, Ahmed. Shukran for that, man. You take care. Continue with your gaming. Stay blessed, man. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
All right, peoples. Whoa, it's gone over 2 hours. I'll tell you what, let's take a few. Then we'll wrap this up. It's been awesome, actually, chatting. We've got Azarati. You're doing it, Azarati. You're doing it. Alaikum assalam, Azarati. What's going down, man?
Nothing much. Just chilling with our.
Where's my chain? Here it is. All right. There you go, people. That's my razor blade. All right.
The razor gang.
That's it, man. Gang. This is a reminder to cut through the BS in life.
Yeah.
So what's going down, man, Azarati? Azarati, where are you? Is it the States or Canada?
In Canada, in Toronto.
Toronto.
Yes.
Toronto seems to have such a vibing community about it, man. They all lively.
It's basically the New York of Canada, so it's like.
Wow, you guys are doing it, man. Bloody hell, I gotta switch this spyware off on my phone. So what's going down, Azarati, man? What you been up to? What's
nothing else. Life is going good. I really like to thank you for all your videos. Thank you for all your I think, I don't know if you remember, I told you that the first time I heard you, and after that, after a couple of days, or I think it was a month or something, randomly I see a dream. In dream, I'm just sitting I'm in a desert, middle of a desert, and then there's a tent. I go in the tent and there's like a bunch of students, and they're like, who's coming to teach us? I'm like, no. I'm like, first of all, where am I? I don't even know. It's the middle of the desert. So they're like, Mufti Abu Layth is gonna come and teach us. I'm like, what? First of all, I was just trying to recollect. I'm like, I was never thinking about him. Like, I mean, how, right? And then you show up. It was like, and then I think it was discontinued. Then I see at nighttime you're like sitting 1-to-1. We're talking about this topic of graves, like visiting graves and stuff like that. So, and then I started messaging you, and I said that, and then the next thing you messaged me right away, you said, that's why we say souls are connected. So that touched me. And then, and I would want to tell you, like, one thing about, I don't know what it is, but so like I've always been, like on the moderate side. My parents have always been on the moderate side. They have always encouraged me to learn about Islam and stuff like that. And then, a lot of times people ask you, I was like noticing that about this Salah thing, like today too, I think in the first or second, time when people started talking about Salah. Actually, in fact, since I started listening to you, I think it was like since last October or September. Since then till now, I haven't missed any Salah.
MashaAllah.
That's what I don't know how people have opinions about you. They might have like 200, like thousands of negative opinions about you. But one thing, the next, like a day would come, I would die. If someone says, oh, hopefully, inshallah, like, if someone says, oh, you have not missed a salat, and what the reason would be, I would definitely be like, it was because of Mufti Sahib. And I don't know.
Honestly,
I don't know how. And you have never said anytime in any of your videos, like, you have to, if you miss, you're going to burn in hell or something like that. But it was like a reverse psychology, or I don't know how it worked. But since then, even if it's late, I make a point. I just, because I just want to pray because, as you said, because of love of it, not because I have to pray. I think.
Yeah, exactly. A person, they pray out of that kind of, that they, they want to offer, like a sense of gratitude, like something, it means nothing but chalo, like at least I pray this, even if they're late, like I say to people, look, if you're late, it happens, we get late in life, you pray it all before you go to sleep, just pray the fara'id. I say,
if you really like, I mean, if you know that there is someone and he loves you, and why, like, you do so many things for people who you love, and like, this is like, why not? Like, just like, it takes like literally 5 minutes. Like, why not? And one other comment I wanted to, actually, it was like a, I don't know, like a question. I have a friend, he's a Brahmin, a very good friend of mine. His name is Chintan. He loves listening to you, me and him, whenever we get together. We have these deep conversations of like,
what's his name? Chinta.
Chintan Boots.
Chintan. चिंता करने की कोई जरूरत ही नहीं है.
Exactly, that's why. But I don't know. He always, like, he has this. I think I would say, like, he's more like a Muslim than an actual Muslim. Like, when he talks, like, he has this deep understanding of Islam, even though, so basically we were talking, when we when you had guests, a lot of guests, we sit together, we watch, and he had a comment. He just wanted to ask you that, when people have opinions, like you have an opinion, there are people who have different opinions. He's like, how do you know whose opinion is right anyways? Like, how do you know? Like, like at the end of the day, the person says, okay, this is all this is, and this is my opinion, I think this is right. But he's like, how do you know? Like, how do you know God doesn't look like Ram? Like, how do you know, like, how do you know anyone is wrong? Like, how do you know that? So I'm like, I couldn't answer that question. I'm like, I don't know. Like, the ultimate thing would be only Allah knows. But he's like, yeah. So even if, for instance, if someone does something wrong, like literally in terms of law, he does something wrong, but didn't actually Allah allow him to do that thing? Like, didn't God actually allow him to do something wrong? So maybe he had a purpose. So maybe, like in terms of us, maybe he's doing wrong. Like, maybe if someone is doing idol worship, someone is doing, but how do you actually know? Because ultimately he is allowing him to do that. So, he's allowing Hindus to live, he's allowing Christians to live, he's allowing a lot of people to think differently, he's allowing, so how do you know, like, who's right, who's wrong? Like, technically, we can just, that's our opinion. At the end of the day, it's just that, he's wrong or he's right. But how do we know that who's right? Like, at the end of the day, we don't know anything. Like,
yeah, I mean, you see, it's a tricky one, because You see, in this dunya, I feel that, look, that my understanding is that there were different millahs, which plural in Arabic millal, but millah. And sometimes people just translate millah to mean deen, like in Arabic, which means religion. I don't think millah meant religion. You see, millah to me meant like an overarching kind of, like a paradigm, like a way that people, and from millah would come religions. So for example, we in the millah to Ibrahim, this millah comes about, several, whether it's 3,000 years BC or whatever it is, it comes about in the Middle East at a particular time where humanity now is set on a trajectory where the next leap will be one of reason. Like for humans to kind of really, like, because humans have been coming, there's been the whole hunter-gatherer thing, there's been other things, agriculture, and now they're kind of like developing, and they're getting to a certain stage where they're kind of all set to start taking off towards capitalizing on reason. Now, this millah of Ibrahim is a millah of reason, of nazar and aql, and this kind of like looking and reasoning and asking and that kind of logical argumentation. And so from here comes religions like Judaism, Christianity, Islam. These adyan are all built on this millah of kind of like of reasoning, wujub an-nazar. But you see, other milal that weren't from the millah of Ibrahim, they may have been built on a kind of like a mysticism. They may have been built on not like how Hinduism. I feel that millah was built on, I do feel at some point Hinduism in its origin was also something that would have been divinely inspired. Maybe it wouldn't have been the way it looks today, but in its asal, I feel that other milal like Buddhism, these were all about, they're like mystical. They're not about reasoning. They're not about trying to know. It's about, in fact, things are not what they seem, nor are they otherwise. Like things are, it's about not knowing. It's weird. It's the mystique, the kind of. Now, in that sense, these milal have carried on in their own way and kind of developed and turned into whatever. And one could argue that hasn't Islam kind of become institutionalized, even though it's so young as a faith. It's only 1,400 years old compared to like Judaism being thousands, so many thousands of years old, or Hinduism so many thousands of years old. So Islam has too become institutionalized. The way you look at the Islam as presented by some of the mullahs is not, in my understanding, the Islam of the Prophet. This is a version of it. Yes, it's a very kind of like an institutionalized, power-driven, controlling version. And as Hinduism has become this whole thing with idols and these, because even in Hinduism, by their asal, by default, they don't think that these, so for example, Ram was meant to be God. They feel he was an avatar and that God was actually formless. When they look at the actual Brahman, that he is meant to be kind of formless, like have no form. And then the kind of the whole ultimate ruh with them was that Paramatma kind of thing. But then they feel that they can't relate to that God is too impersonal. He's too transcendent. Like Brahman isn't like concerned. So what they need is a more personal God. But I feel with this problem, Islam dealt with it in trying to create that link between a personal and impersonal God. And through telling you, look, God is Rahim, God is Rahman, God is Kareem, God is Aziz, Razak. Here, what they did is came up with these avatars and figureheads and then statues and, so you see, I understand that, look, people are ultimately on their own journeys and people have been born into their faiths for the most part. Some people convert here and there, but for the most part, people are just born. And we have this nazar, we have this kind of our reasoning. And if somebody let's say they thought about it, they did reason, and they felt that they're okay, they're with something, the main message is being a good human being, and I'm trying to do that, and they don't convert to Islam, but they think about it, they think this is okay, if I'm sure God is okay with this, then our ulama, Sunni ulama, amongst them Ash'ari ulama, amongst them people like Baydawi and Al-Abbi and these other ulama have written that, look, if in fact Baydawi in his I believe it's in his Tawali', that he mentions that this mas'ala, which is then quoted by Ubbi and is quoted by many of the scholars as well, that look, if a person does his best, he thinks, and if his reason leads him away from God, let's say from God as in God as how we know him, Islam, al-Islam, Allah, and so on, they say that, ar-raja and yu'fa anhu, we believe that then that person will, inshallah, we're hopeful that he will be forgiven too. Like it's okay, like that, like he's entrusted to do his best, and he did his best. Like Allah did not want every single person to become a Muslim as in an institutionalized Muslim. Allah says that in the Quran. If he wanted, then everybody would just be Muslim. That's not the purpose. It's not the name of the game. So yeah, I feel that, look, we are all on our journey, and people, how do we know what is the truth? In this world, we only can go by two things. We can go by reason, and that's what I would put at the front. And I know some of those millahs and some of those faiths are not based on reason. They're not reason oriented. It's not about reason. So, okay, I guess for them. But as a human being, we can go by reason. That's the only thing we can share. Everything else will be subjective, and we may not share it. You see, like you may say, well, somebody may say, I'm experiencing that I'm from a different life and I've come here. And somebody may say, well, I'm from a different planet and I've come here. And somebody may say, I'm actually a jinn. And somebody may say, so here it's, we can discuss subjective, qualitative experiences, but really the only common thing to know something is the voice of reason.
So, yes, Mufti Sahib, so what happened was he basically believes in Quran. He basically believes that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the last messenger. Whenever we pray, he doesn't know I've showed him how to pray, but he just sits, but he pays attention. He tries to focus that he's also praying, but he just says that, why do I have to become he feels that it's institutionalization. So he thinks that, why do I have to change? Why, right now he believes in all that, but he's like, I also am comfortable with being a Brahmin, a Hindu. But at the same time, I believe in Prophet. I believe, I'm obviously not gonna say Ram is a god. Like obviously Brahma, that is just as you were explaining. So he believes in all that, but he's like, why do I have to say? He can even say the kalma, but he's like, why do I have to become a Muslim? So I'm like, you are, I was like, technically you are, but it's just like, I don't know what to say. Like he technically is a Muslim because he believes in it, but he's like, why do I have to?
Look, the Prophet said what? Man qala la ilaha illallah. It's amazing that the Prophet didn't even say Man qala la ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. It isn't that's interesting. I'm just saying from a Muslim perspective that the Prophet could have said that Man qala la ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, but he didn't. And it's so fascinating that because the Prophet said Man qala la ilaha illallah dakhla al-jannah, enters Jannah. And then the Prophet said Man kana akhiru kalamihi. And it's interesting that when babies are born as well and they start to develop speech, and even at the end, there's certain words which are so easy with the tongue. Like you don't have to move so many muscles, and like the L's, the la 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 la, like that. That's why babies a lot of the time, la 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 la, is their first words. And so even the hadith mentions his last words were la ilaha illallah. Like you don't have to. You see, a person was struggling. He's at a time of death. That's all. Because with the rest of it, Rasul, Muhammad, there's like, obviously a person, if he's fine, he can say it, but it's not, with such articulation, it's not the la la kind of letters. It doesn't just flow with the tongue. You have to articulate the whole mouth. So the Prophet didn't say, whoever's last word was Muhammad Rasulullah, because it brings that subtle, that kind of thing on the man whose last words were La ilaha illallah. And I feel that, look, we sometimes have become so obsessed on the other. Yeah, this journey is our own journey, personal journey. Like if I find it, alhamdulillah, I find it like this. Another person, if he's Brahmin, if he's Hindu, if he, but he feels in his way that he does believe in just one God. He even accepts the Prophet ﷺ, but he kind of has this Sanskriti kind of tradition which he is a part of. Obviously, they take their lineage very seriously. Look, it's for Allah, isn't it? Like, who am I to kind of say, you
exactly
chuck him out of the faith and chuck him out of the thing? Who is it? You tell me something when in the life of the Prophet, when he would send people and say that, look, tell them that there's La ilaha illallah. Do they accept? He say, all you'd ask them first is, do they accept God? They accept God, alhamdulillah. Now tell them, look, will they accept these things? Will they accept me as a prophet? Will they accept this? Now, what used to happen in the Prophet's time is the Sayyidul Qabila, the Sheikh of the Qabila would often embrace Islam. Now, people would follow their icons. So when he embraced it, people would embrace it. A bit like today in other aspects, like clothing, a superstar, celebrity will wear something, the Kardashians will advertise something, everybody's going to buy. So it's like that in that day and age, the Sheikhul Qabila or the Sayyidul Sadat, they would embrace, if they embraced the faith, people embraced it. Now, in all honesty, when the people say, Ana ala dini fulan, I'm upon his deen, what did they actually know about the ins and outs of the faith? Like, let's be honest, come on, like those people in a Qabila, that particular Qabila in South Arabia that some companion has come to, said, look, do you accept one God? Okay, the leader says, yeah, okay, we accept one God. He said, do you accept Prophet Muhammad? Okay, we accept the Prophet Muhammad. Alhamdulillah, you're Muslim, we have these things. And then the Qabila just say, we're on the deen of our Sayyid, of our leader. Now, what do they really know about verses, about the afterlife, about the destiny, about free will? Do they know about the discussion of, they don't know anything about this kind of stuff. And they just probably lived and died. They just probably didn't worship other pagan gods. And, they respected the Prophet and they accepted him. And in the Prophet's lifetime, many of the Arabs of Arabia that embraced his message may have just embraced it like that. That they embraced it as like they respected him and gave up pagan worship. That's all. I don't think they, if you stopped one of the random tribesmen and asked him, okay, can you distinguish between how much destiny versus free will, and what does Islam say, and okay, in the afterlife, how is it going to be, and what is they'll be like, for God's sake, I've got to go bloody milk my camel, get out of the way, like I don't know what the hell you're on about. So I think we've got lost in the details. This is the problem. We, forget ourselves. We're more concerned out of an angle of power about other people. Are you going to hell? Are you going to heaven?
That's why that's why like a lot of other scholars, like mashallah, obviously Sheikh Yasir Khadi and all these people are good in their own way, probably. The thing is, like, they scare, like, when people like them hear them, they're like, they get scared. They're like, oh shoot, so I'm not even 1% what type of Muslim he describes, or scholar. So I say we should be more encouraging, like, I don't know, just so that people don't get scared. And maybe if someone has thoughts like him, maybe a lot of people have thoughts like him, but they just don't dare.
People have a journey. Look, tell me, I'm not saying this. What does the Quran say? Yeah. The Quran says to Christians, قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ تَعَالَوْا إِلَىٰ كَلِمَةٍ سَوَاءٍ بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمْ. Okay, how about we just have a middle ground? That we won't worship any other gods.
That's it.
Like, tell me, this verse is not, anybody who tells you this verse is saying, oh, you people better become Muslim, they're forcing an interpretation on it. Because why would the verse begin by saying, قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ تَعَالَوْا? It would say, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ أُدْخُلُوا فِي الْإِسْلَامِ, or أَسْلِمُوا. It's not. It's تعالوا إلى كلمة سواء بيننا وبينكم. Between us. Like let's get to a middle ground. Like let's just do this and stop superstitions and stop these things and like this is. I feel that look, this there's too much power speaking when people. All this like, oh, you until you don't call your dad a kafir and you don't call your mama kafir on her face and you don't do this. Yeah, calm down, yeah. There's all this misplaced rage. That's what it is. But yeah, you can tell chinta ji ke koi chinta karne ki zarurat nahi.
Well, Derek is a big fan of yours, so he's just. I'm like, just send Mufti super chat. He would definitely reply. He was like, "No, bro, you do it." I'm like, "No, bro, you do it." It's like, okay,
cool, man. Inshallah, Azarati, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, man. Drop me. No, I've got you obviously on Insta. Anyway. Yeah, of course, I know who you are.
Send his thing to you, then he can get in touch with you for sure.
Cool, man. Inshallah. Take care, man. Stay blessed. Over and out. Assalamu alaikum. Right, people. Wow, it's amazing to connect with people. I know we've been going on. Let's try and wrap it up. So we'll say a quick. I know some people have been waiting, so I don't want to kind of them to feel that I've been waiting all this while and didn't even. So let's bring them on. There's Wais here. Wais, ahlan wa sahlan. Assalamu alaikum. Look at that with a gamer chair and a green screen.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam, Wais. I'm good. Where are you connecting from, Wais?
Same as the previous guest, Toronto.
Toronto seems to be a blessed place, man. You guys are doing it.
It is.
You got a really cool name there. What's Wais? What is this? What is this?
I think in Pakistan it is Awais.
Awais, yes, that's what I thought. Is this
I'm from Afghanistan, so we have Awais.
Oh, are you the Farsi speaking or the?
I'm both. I'm Farsi speaking, but I speak Pashto as well.
Farsi is so awesome. Honestly, I want to learn Farsi, and I know the Dari, the Afghan, is with a slightly different style.
Yeah.
But yeah, how are you doing, man? What's preoccupying your precious?
It's been a long time. I wanted to talk to you. It's a great blessing to have you, to listen to you, to learn from you. Alhamdulillah.
Shukran, man. I'm right here. Delta. I'm right here, man.
Yeah. So I'm also one of the Javed Ahmed Ghamidi Saab's fan, and then I found you, and I became a fan of you as well. So there are a few things, of course, that I always wanted to share with you. Especially, I was intrigued with your conversation with Professor Edip. And
Edip. Okay.
Yes. So I have lately, come to the realization that, as you have said, and I've learned this from you as well, ahadith, all of them are dhanni wa subut. They may be qatayu dalala, but a lot of things could be qatayu dalala, but they are zanni wa subut.
Yeah, and they're not necessarily always qatayu dalala either.
Correct. Yeah. So they are zanni, meaning that there's some suspicion, doubt, maybe it is not actually reaching to the Rasulullah. And I also learned from you that tawatur actually may not even exist. It may be just a fancy that people have. Maybe they like to have it, but it may not actually exist. So the real thing that I'm faced with, and this is an issue that I'm personally dealing with, is if something has doubt in it, how can I take my religion from it? So I've become lately of the opinion that the only two things that have tawatur, which is tawatur qawli, is the Quran, and tawatur amali is the Sunnah.
Sure.
Other than that, why should we have a third source to take religion from? Why do we even talk about a hadith when the Quran says, there's a verse of the Quran that says that those people, tilka ummatun qad khalat laha ma kasabat wa lakum ma kasabtum wa la tasa'alunaka amma kanu yaf'alun. So if we are not going to be asked of what they were doing, I'm really mesmerized. I'm really absolutely at awe with your memory of our previous scholars. But if you're not going to be asked about our previous scholars, what were they doing, you know, then why should I even care? Why should I not just focus on the Quran and the Sunnah?
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I can understand the sentiment. You see, why I would do things slightly differently, why I do still associate with, let's say, a madhab coming, and where we've got, why I don't reject hadith, for example, is because first of all, I feel that the deen was preserved through the Quran is the backbone of the deen, and the deen was preserved through the living tradition. It was just practiced, applied. Like you prayed, people learned, you fasted. They weren't learning it through hadith. That's true. Hadith was documented later, and it just became a database resource. Now, this resource was corrupted as well, so there's many hadith in there that are made up for political reasons, for other gains, for whatever somebody, and sometimes not even deceptively made up. They could have mistakenly been made up. Like people have false memories, they mix up, did you say it, did he say it, did the prophet say it, so there's genuine errors as well. Now, but I do feel that one point, I feel that it's definitely true that there are many things that have been documented in hadith that have been true. So this was my discussion in saying, well, you could look at historical incidents, for example. You could look at other things that through other sources. Well, So, for example, the living tradition, we know that there's fiqh preserving how to pray, and you will also find it in hadith as well. So you know that, well, it correlates. You think, well, okay, so there could have been some other incident, like this thing with the Quran. Now people saying, look, there's variance in the Quran or whatever. Like, not only are we finding the manuscripts, but the hadith, it was documented as well, like telling you that this stuff did happen. So we know that there's definitely some things in there that are definitely accurate as well, and there's some things in there that are wrong. They are either maybe mistakes or human errors or whatever. So that's one reason why I wouldn't just throw the baby out with the bathwater in saying, well, look, okay, because there's definitely some things mistaken here, let's just chuck the whole resource out, because it could be useful. There's no harm in, because like I said, we would not even know anything about the prophet's description or any of the historicity of where the prophet lived. Did he live in Medina? We wouldn't know anything if it wasn't for the hadith that we have. So we have these hadith are useful. The other thing is so that's that part. The other part, why I don't dissociate with tradition. You see, religion, if I can wrongly use the analogy, like wine, the older it is, the more value it has. Yeah, so to people. So people, you see, with religion, they're not, what doesn't appeal to people is modernity. Like for faith, for technology, modernity. But if you tell somebody, hey, this is the deen and it's just from yesterday, people will be like, what the hell? I don't want this yesterday's version. I want they want to go far back as possible to the original source. Now you could say, well, we've got the original source, we've got the Quran, which is true. But the Quran is kind of in a vacuum. It's like, it doesn't tell you about a context to it necessarily. So for this, we have a fiqh, like the living tradition was captured by fiqh, I would argue. So that fiqh has been documented in books of fiqh. Now, yes, ulama have given their opinions, and they are just men. They're not angels and they're not prophets, and they've made huge blunders as well. Huge blunders. It's like somebody asked me, and I'm going to discuss it on Monday nights, that in the Shafi'i madhab, and they say it's Imam Shafi'i himself, or it's definitely early on in his madhab, that they say a person can even marry his own daughter if it was an illegitimate child, because he says that to constitute children, like for children to be valid children, legal children, they must be born through a legal wedlock. So any child, according to his madhab and him, as far as I know, it is him. If it wasn't him, it's definitely his early madhab, but I believe it is him, Imam Shafi'i himself, saying that, look, if it's born out of wedlock, then it's not a legitimate child, and therefore you can't even attribute the child to him, and thereby even nikah with that person would be like nikah with a stranger. Now, I find that to be as dumb as bloody and as absolutely idiotic as any kind of weird, absurd statement could be. So you're going to get the craziest of things being said as well in fiqh. But I do feel that this is I treat it as a man-made thing. It's not divine, but it is a legacy. That's an inherited, continuous practice of the community of Islam. So in learning about it, it just adds flavor. Like when I will pass a judgment, I will say, look, and this continues the legacy. 500 years ago, somebody said this, 800 years ago, somebody said this. And it shows that continuation. Like, it's not just, you see, because what the Salafi claim is that, like, we are going to, there's us now, and then there's the Prophet's age, and there's 1300 years worth of, it's like, you've got a 10-season TV series, and you've got the first season and the last season, and what the hell happened in between? It's like we don't need those seasons. It's like we just need the beginning and the end. And it's like, well, I don't. You see, I value the kind of legacy, so that's why I quote it and I promote it and things like that.
No, absolutely. As I said earlier, I really am at awe with your memory and your knowledge. I'm using it every day. I learn from you. It's just that when I was talking about. I didn't say of course, hadith has its own value to know the historicity, to understand the background of the religion. However, I was talking about the source of religion. Can we treat hadith as religion itself? Because to me, the Furqan is the Quran. The Quran has to say the final word. But when I see the tradition that Muslims are practicing, in practice, they're putting the hadith above the Quran in practice. And I can give many examples on that. I wanted to bring one example here from the Quran. It says, وَقَالُوا رَبَّنَا إِنَّا أَطَعْنَا سَادَتَنَا وَكُبْرَاءَنَا فَضَلُّونَا السَّبِيلَ. How can we be sure that these people that we are following, maybe they have very good reputation, everything is great, but that's not the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold us responsible for what He protected.
Sure. I mean, I agree with you. Yeah. But carry on. Was there more?
Yeah. So for example, one thing that I came and I asked, Ghamdi Saab's student, the one that came to your show as well. His name is skipping my mind. Dr. Salim.
Dr. Shahzad Salim.
Shahzad Salim. I asked him this one as well. For example, there's a verse of the Quran. It's not with me right now, but it says that if a woman comes after committing zina, a fahisha, and she comes, then it says lock her up in the house until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides another way for her. Of course, you're a hafiz, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes,
or she dies naturally. So it says hold four witness against her from yourselves, not from those people who actually saw her. Amongst yourself, those people from you, you hold 4 witnesses, then lock her up in the house. So if some woman comes from fahisha, the husband is not supposed to give her talaq, not supposed to do anything, beat her up or kill her, nothing like that. Is supposed to keep her in the house until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides another way for her. This is the Quran. Now the hadith says that other way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks in the Quran, that maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will find another way for her. The hadith comes and says, now there's another way. Now you go kill her, stone her to death. So people have taken hadith over the Quran. The Quran doesn't say that. The hadith says that. And everybody who calls themselves a Sunni or a Shia probably would accept what the hadith says over the Quran. And that is baffling my mind. And because I believe it's not correct to do that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not allow us to kill.
Yeah.
You see?
No, I agree with you 100% that this, I look 100% in agreement that the Quran should always be the center. Yeah. And things should revolve around it. It should not be like the deen should not be, you see, it should not be Bukhari centric. It should not be hadith centric. I mean, hadith is important in Islam, but it's not as important as the Quran. unquestionably. This is why Imam Malik condemned these one-on-one narrations as something that would snatch the deen away from you. So, but at the same time, I agree that deen should not be absolutely fiqh-centric. But here, what I mean by this is what has the ultimate trump card? Like, what can trump all other cards? It should always just be the Quran. Like, absolutely, it should not be that, look, I've got this verse of the Quran here, I've got a fiqh ruling. You know what? Let's go with the fiqh ruling. You think, well, no. And what I mean by this here isn't like a fatwa to make an exception. That's different. I mean here where we completely do away, like it's irrelevant. So this, I don't know about this, but let's use a better example, like la ikraha fi din.
Yes.
There is no coercion in Islam. Now, you cannot punish an apostate.
Yeah.
Now, you see, this is the verse of the Quran. Now, they will say, yes, but, you know, we've got this practice with this particular hadith, which is problematic anyway. But
I know you mentioned Ikrama, and I learned that from.
But even if they're going to say, look, it's in the fiqh books, but the fiqh books had political motives for doing it. We've got to understand that. Look, in that day and age, they treated it like treason and they did whatever they did, but everybody was doing it. You know, it wasn't just Muslims, Christians were doing it, everybody was doing it. But the point is that today we have to remember the Quran always comes first, the primacy of the Quran. I agree with you. So 100% I'm the thing I do say is that, look, the other things are part of the tradition. I don't advocate throwing these things away. They are part of the tradition. There's useful things in them. They are useful, but you just have to be sensible in how you use things. You know, if it's like Ibn Taymiyyah saying by consensus, you know, he will say any person who steals from the non-Muslim lands and brings it back into Islam, then that's halal for him. And this. You think, look, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, mate. But maybe 700 years ago in the medieval times, doing that may have worked for your society, but we're not going to basically go with that today. Like, we need sound reason, and the Quran is at the forefront. But we will use fiqh, we will use the fatwa, we will celebrate this tradition and legacy. We will use hadith, you know, where we can, but it shouldn't clash with reason, it shouldn't clash with the Quran, shouldn't uproot an Islamic principle.
Absolutely.
These three. Cool. Wise, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Do send me a message on Instagram or whatever, and I'll stay connected. Assalamu alaikum. Guys, I know it's been going on. We've got to wrap up. What I'll do is just a brief, since we've had these people waiting, I don't want them to have just waited in vain. Mr. B. Hello, Mr. B. Mr. B. यार मिस्टर बी का क्या हो गया है? We've had Abdullah here. I'll have a quick Assalamu alaikum, Abdullah.
Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. How are you doing, Abdullah? You okay?
I'm good. Love from Pakistan. Love you.
Jio, shukran. Khush raho, abad raho. Ameen.
You are the only one standing for such hadiths which are insulting Prophet. No other scholar has courage to stand up. May Allah reward you for that.
Shukran, man. I'm deeply appreciate your words. And it's so true that we need to be able to have the courage to defend the honor of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and all prophets and all people, especially in line with when it comes to just because of there's a particular hadith saying something. And I know in Pakistan some ulama did try it, but the problem is people are, they start, this is a black, this. And so I remember somebody in Pakistan, what's his name? Sheikh Maulana Saeed. What's his name? Oh, bloody hell, it's on the tip of my tongue. But he's written a book. It's in Urdu. It's a brief book. He was a great sheikh I think he's from Multan or somewhere. He wrote a book called Quran Muqaddas or Bukhari Muhaddas or Bukhari Muhaddas, yeah, something like that. It's a brief book. You can get it online, I'm sure. And he is like he was a respected Deobandi coming from that background. He's passed away now. Saeed Ahmed something his name is, but the point is when he did it, they did.
I don't get one thing. Sorry to interrupt you. I don't get one thing. Why if they don't want to reject such hadiths, why are they providing ammunition to ex-Muslims who are continuously attacking Islam? They are continuously giving ammunition to them.
Yeah,
what's happening with them.
I agree. Like, this is the thing that, and just finishing on that thing, that guy got arrested and they wanted to do a police case on him and blah, blah, blah. But this is just about the hardship. But yeah, this is the thing that you see. These things make Islam look silly. They make Islam look dumb. You know, like saying, and just, you know, like saying a hadith like, oh, the Prophet Moses running naked to show his testicles so people know, you know, his testicles ain't swollen. It's like, what the hell are you even talking about?
Absolutely.
What kind of a hadith is this? This is like against the, you know, it's against the sanctity of the prophets. And why are you even talking about them like this? It doesn't.
The hadith about Solomon.
About Suleiman, or even this hadith like, oh, look, you know, that ek zamana tha ke gosht, you know, meat wouldn't go off. It wouldn't go, you know, kharab nahi hua karta tha. And then what happened is Bani Israel ki taraf se kuch unhone garbar kar li aur unke zamane se ab gosht bhi kharab ho jata hai. You know, it's like meat goes bad just because of Bani Israel that they did something. It's like, what the hell are you even It's, and you know, it's, so this is the thing. And even in another hadith about women have menstruation because it's a punishment for them and this and that, and whereas in another hadith the Prophet is saying there's nothing wrong. You know, somebody gets embarrassed because she's menstruating, and the Prophet says there's nothing wrong with this. He says innama dhaka shay'un kataba Allahu ala banati Adam. You know, this is ye to ek fitrati baat hai. The Prophet is saying to them that this is kudrati cheez hai. This is natural that Allah has. This is the design for women. There's nothing to be embarrassed of. So, yeah, I totally agree, man. But kya kare yaar? Yeah, how do we move forward? It's like right now, ye Pakistan mein ye jo Peshawar mein jo kuch hua.
बिल्कुल अजीब, ये एक्स मुस्लिम जो हारिस सुल्तान ऐसे लोग हैं, इतने अटैक कर रहे हैं उनके कैरेक्टर पे, हदीस लेके सब लेके, और स्कॉलर्स जो डिफेंड करने आते हैं पता क्या करते हैं? वो कहते हैं क्या किया हमने, उन्होंने किया है तो क्या हुआ, इस तरह से आप कहते हैं ना, बिल्कुल सिली आर्गुमेंटिविटी, उनको बहुत एमिनेशन देते हैं, किया तो क्या हुआ.
हाँ, और यही तो मसला, और मसला ये है कि यहाँ पर इन उलमा को इसके बजाय कि यहाँ पर ये कोई यार तनकीद करें, कहें कि ये हदीस में ये है, ये डट जाते हैं, जिद पर डट जाते हैं कि अच्छा ये नहीं, हाँ तो क्या, you know, तो क्या हुआ, हाँ तो जबरदस्ती की तो, अबे यार, you know, it's like they're throwing the whole of the deen away just because of this stubbornness, this kind of reverse reactionary bravado that like, and so what if the Prophet did it, and you know, it's like, yeah, calm down. You know, you're not the voice piece of Islam. So yeah, I agree, and I don't know, you know, some parts of the world, I don't know, ab kaise, how can they reconcile their faith with, and I feel that places like Pakistan, places like India, Hindustan, I feel that, especially Pakistan, I feel
India
that
में तो मैंने सुना है, I just heard कि एथियस्टिज्म बहुत ज्यादा फैल रहा है, ये सब कैंपेन जो लॉन्च की गई है 1 साल से बहुत ज्यादा फैल रहा है, और ये सब स्कॉलर्स बुरी तरह मिजरेबली फेल हो.
नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं, वो तो हो रहा है यार, एंड बल्कि यहाँ पाकिस्तान में भी आप देख लीजिए, दिस वाज माय, पाकिस्तान में आप ले लीजिए, ये मिडिल क्लासेस जो हैं, यंग यूथ जो दीन,
और मैं आपकी और स्कॉलर्स जैसे इमरान हुसैन है, उनकी वीडियोस जो हदीस के खिलाफ हैं, डब करके अपनी आवाज में, और आपकी वीडियोस यूज करके फैलाता हूँ जावेद अहमद गंदे की, तो लोग आके मुझे कह रहे थे तू काफिर हो गया, तू ये हो गया, कभी यहूदी एजेंट, कभी सऊदी एजेंट, कभी कुछ, इतने एजेंट एक बंदा कैसे बन सकता है?
मसला यही है कि वहां पर complete monopoly है, you know, there's a complete monopoly by the Maulanas. उनकी जो control है, जो उन्होंने सब कुछ को यरगमाल किया हुआ है पूरे दीन को. And कोई भी अब जैसे जावेद
इमरान हुसैन के पास भी करे जाए, जावेद अहमद गांधी के पास,
जावेद गांधी साहब पाकिस्तान में बात करें,
हाँ जी,
अंदेशा है यही है कि कोई उनको टपका देगा गोली से, you know, ये तो इससे तो इसीलिए तो उनको वहां से भागना पड़ा, you know, it's like चलो शायद इमरान हुसैन कम से कम उनके का शक्ल और होलिया से तो वो तो कम से कम
आपको पता है वो भी हदीस रिजेक्ट करते हैं, आपको पता है वो भी हदीस रिजेक्ट करते हैं.
नहीं हाँ वो तो पता है, मगर मैं कह रहा हूँ कम से कम होलिये से तो चलो वो बच जाएंगे, मगर ये कि हम सिर्फ होलिये की बुनियाद पर ही
मुफ्ती ने पहले फतवा दे दिया शिया है, इस मुफ्ती ने पहले फतवा दे दिया अकीदे के लिहाज से शिया है पाकिस्तान में. मैंने उनकी वीडियो ट्रांसलेट करना शुरू की ना कुछ, तो उन्होंने बंदा उनकी वीडियो सुन के वो बिल्डिंग द ब्रिजेस कर रहे थे शिया और सुन्नी के बीच में, वो कह रहे शिया बंदा है.
किसके बारे में? मौलाना तारिक जमील साहब जो हैं उनके बारे में या
शेख इमरान हुसैन?
अच्छा शेख इमरान हुसैन, हाँ नहीं, और ये मौलाना तारिक जमील के बारे में भी यही कुछ ये लेकर, ये जो उन्होंने इत्तेहाद और शियों का वो एहतराम कर, अच्छा ये खुद शिया बन गए, शिया का एजेंट है यार सब सिर्फ एजेंट ही बैठे हुए हैं यहाँ पे
मैं भी एजेंट, आप भी एजेंट, सब एजेंट
यार मसला है यार. एंड यू नो ये जो मैं कह रहा था, वहाँ का जो मुझे मैसेजेस आते हैं, ये जो मिडिल क्लास तबका है पाकिस्तान में, बहुत से लोग जैसे वो, क्योंकि एक जानिब से वो दीन का एहतराम करते हैं, मगर दीन जिस शक्ल में पेश किया जा रहा है, जैसे ये जो मुल्लाओं का दीन है, इससे इतनी नफरत करते हैं, तो अब उनको एक चॉइस, एक हार्ड चॉइस लेना है कि यार या फिर इस्लाम कबूल करना है तो इन्हीं जैसा, यानी इन्हीं का इस्लाम कबूल करना है, या इस्लाम को ही छोड़ दो. क्योंकि you know this is why, like you know you mentioned Haris Sultan, you mentioned इनका, this is why people they resonate, उनको ये बातें ये क्यों उनके समझ में आती हैं, क्योंकि वो देखते हैं ये क्या कह रहे हैं, कहते हैं हाँ यार ये अब ये हदीस कौन मानेगा, इसी हदीस को अब अपने उलमा से पूछेंगे तो वो तो बस उल्टा डांट देते हैं कि ये तुम कौन होते हो सवाल
करते हैं, उनके एक्सप्लेनेशन देते हैं, बड़ी अजीबो-गरीब एक्सप्लेनेशन बनाते हैं मैं हैरान हो गया, अजीबो-गरीब एक्सप्लेनेशन बनाते हैं ये इस तरह
नहीं बिल्कुल बिल्कुल नहीं. अब्दुल्ला जी आपसे बातें कर बहुत खुशी हुई, इंशाल्लाह आप जरूर.
अच्छा एक छोटा सा सवाल पूछना था अगर आपके पास वक्त हो.
चलो पूछ लीजिए.
ये जो आदम अलैहिस्सलाम के जो बेटे थे काबिल अलैहिस्सलाम, इन्होंने क्या अपनी सिस्टर से शादी की थी? ये
नहीं, ये ऐसी, ये जहां तक देखिए मैंने कहा है, ये जो ये किस्से ही हैं आदम अलैहिस्सलाम, कुरान में जो जिक्र है, हवा का जिक्र कुरान में नहीं है, ठीक है. बस ये कि आदम अलैहिस्सलाम थे और उनका कोई जैसे शरीक था, कोई पार्टनर था, ज़ौज था, ये लफ्ज इस्तेमाल किया जाता है, ज़ौजा ज़ौज, मगर वो हवा थी, कौन थे, क्या था, ये इसकी कोई तफसील नहीं दी जाती है. जहां तक मैं समझता हूं कि आदम अलैहिस्सलाम के जमाने में वो एक होमिनिन थे, होमोसैपियन थे, मगर उनको शऊर दिया गया, जैसे ये रूह जो उनमें डाली गई, कॉन्शियसनेस की, कॉन्शियसनेस उनके साथ शुरू हुआ, शऊर जो है उनके साथ शुरू हुआ, मगर उनके जमाने में और होमोसैपियंस थे, तो उन्होंने उनके आगे से उनकी औलाद जो थी वो उनकी ये डीएनए लेकर आगे फैली. मगर जहां तक औरतों की बात है, तो औरतें भी थी उनके जमाने में, मर्द भी थे, और मगर यह है कि वो इस तरीके से ये कॉग्निटिव कॉन्शियसनेस उनके पास नहीं था. शायद किसी हद तक कॉन्शियसनेस था, मगर इस दर्जे तक नहीं जो आदम अलैहिस्सलाम के साथ हुआ. तो ये मैं समझता हूं. तो ये जहां तक ये बात है कि देखिए सिर्फ वही दो शख्स थे, उनके जुड़वा औलाद होती थी, और वो ऐसा करते थे कि अच्छा इस भाई की उस बहन के साथ शादी कराते हैं, उसकी इसके साथ ये वो पाकिस्तान वाला अदली बदली वाला तो ये ऐसा, यानी जहां तक हमारी साइंटिफिक भी तहकीक है और ये सब कुछ ऐसा नहीं हुआ है, और ना ही कोई कुरान में इसका जिक्र आता. हाँ, उनके बेटों का जिक्र आता है, आपस में उनकी लड़ाई हुई, मगर उसमें यह जिक्र नहीं है कि लड़ाई किस वजह से हुई। लोगों ने आपस में ये कहानियां शुरू कर दी कि शायद वो शादी के चक्कर में हुआ, इनको इनकी बहन से शादी करनी थी, वो इस पर गुस्सा हो गए और ये वो, मगर ये बातें ही हैं, इंशाल्लाह बातें, यानी इसको बस खुराफात की हद तक या बस ऐसे किस्स की हद तक, हिकायत की हद तक हम छोड़ दें तो बेहतर है। ठीक है जनाब, इंशाल्लाह।
ठीक है। अस्सलाम वालेकुम। फेसबुक पे मैंने आपको रिक्वेस्ट भेजी हुई है, अगर आपको कोई मौका मिले।
इसी नाम से अब्दुल्ला?
नहीं, इस नाम से नहीं भेजी।
अच्छा, चलो आप इंस्टाग्राम पे अगर हैं तो इंस्टाग्राम पे भी मैसेज भेज दीजिए, आप लिख दीजिए कि अब्दुल्ला जो लाइव चैट से, तो इंशाल्लाह मैं जरूर।
इंस्टाग्राम पे आपका क्या आईडी है?
मुफ्ती अबू लैथ, मुफ्ती अबू लैथ।
ठीक है
जनाब, ओके, इंशाल्लाह। अस्सलाम वालेकुम। People, we've got to wrap this up. Oh my God, it's been going on. We're coming close to 3 hours. Right, okay. Let me, Mahad. Go on then. Mahad, what is going on? You know this is 3 hours in, but what's going on?
What's going on? What's going on, man?
What's going on, Mahad? ¿Qué está pasando?
Yes, brother. So, essentially, I had a question. Like, you.
What's your question? Yeah.
I gave you quotes from Qadi Iyad. What's his name? Qadi Iyad. And Ibn Abdul Bar.
This is to do with Jesus coming back.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Okay. Can I ask you something? Since you're so hell-bent on this, let's say, on establishing this belief for others, do you believe this is a fundamental belief of Islam?
I would say so.
You feel it's a fundamental belief of Islam?
Yes, from the majority of what I've read, yes.
Not be a Muslim without this belief.
No, I wouldn't say that's. I'm still looking to the. I don't think it's a fundamental like.
Would a person go to hell for not believing in this belief?
Not necessarily, no. But not necessarily. But like I said, I'm just curious because you're hell bent on saying.
Okay, but throw those questions aside. Let me ask you something. Jesus coming back, right? Since this is something you're very passionate about and you're passionate to prove it, can you tell me what is the purpose of Jesus coming back?
What is the purpose of it? I'm not going into that. I just want to know.
Since he's coming back, is he coming back without a purpose?
Yeah, that's besides the point. I was just curious because you're saying you're a Maliki, right?
How can that be besides the point?
Because I'm
about trying to say that every Muslim should believe in Jesus coming back. Surely this belief has a reason to it here. Or do you just want us to believe every Muslim should believe that every fifth frog is orange? I mean, is this such a random thing that we're coming up with? Or is there meaning behind this? Presumably there is meaning. Of course there's meaning. So since you do believe in it, you obviously do believe in Jesus coming back, I'd like to ask you, what do you believe he's coming back to do?
Well, obviously to fix whatever mess the Christians have started, right?
So he's coming back just for the Christians?
Yeah, why not?
So then why didn't
God and to kill the Dajjal as well?
Why did God allow the Christians still to mess up for 2,000 years and then send him? Or like at least, why not just send him at that time, finish the job?
That's the wisdom of Allah.
So the wisdom of Allah is allow people to not believe in Allah.
That's the wisdom of Allah. I'm not going to question the wisdom.
Let me get this right. All the Christians who have died up until now, God allowed them to be misguided, and then he chose to withhold Jesus Christ from coming to correct them, but he's going to send him at some point to save a few Christians. But the bulk by that time have been misguided, and God is now going to punish them, but he's going to favor a few. Is this the same God talking about?
But don't run away from what I came to establish. You say you're a Maliki, right?
I'm running to words.
Okay, so why did all the Maliki scholars believe in this? You say you're a Maliki, right?
Jesus says, none shall reach the Father except through me. I'm embracing Jesus. Talk to us about Jesus. What is it that, why is God, you believe in God sending Jesus? I want to know, since you do believe in it, unless you're going to tell me I believe in something, I don't know anything or what I actually believe in, then in that case, there's no real difference between you and somebody who doesn't believe in it. So if you do believe in it, I've asked you, what is the purpose? Now, you've said the purpose is for him to want to save all the Christians, which is really ironic since
to kill the Antichrist. You missed out the point.
Okay, sure. Now, this is
but that's besides the point.
No,
the Muslims.
Okay.
See, Mufti Layth, you know what you're doing. Because we had. Can I speak for 2 seconds, bro?
No, Mahad. Why is it?
Okay, but you're missing the point, bro.
The Prophet disagrees with you. According to your version, the Hadith don't say to kill the Antichrist. You naughty.
Okay, but you listen. The Muslims before you, the Malikis before. Oh my God!
Don't misquote.
No, I'm not even talking about the reason behind it. I'm saying, did the Muslims believe it? Yes or no?
I'm asking you, did the Prophet tell you to believe in this?
Of course.
Okay,
the hadith is there, man. So it's mutawatir. According to Qadi Iyad, Iyad, Ibn Rushd, all the scholars that you quote, they say it's mutawatir.
Is Qadi Iyad the Prophet?
No, but they say it's mutawatir. And you claim to be a Maliki. You're going against the consensus of the Maliki.
I claim to be a Muslim. So let's go to the Prophet. You said the Prophet. The Prophet is enough for us. Let's go to the Prophet. So the Prophet says in the Hadith, and you believe this Hadith to be correct, that the reason God is going to send back Jesus, in one-off Hadith, it mentions the Dajjal thing. What do all the other, these that you're claiming are mutawatir in the 20s and the 30s, what do they say? They say he's coming to establish the kingdom of God. Yanzilu Isa ibn Maryam hakaman adlan, that he will descend as a judge on earth. So you believe, let me get this right, which is a verse out of the Bible, by the way, and is Christian belief. And that's how this hadith was made up, through Abu Huraira and through those people who mixed it up. But the point is, you feel that this hadith, the Prophet is telling people that Jesus is going to come as a judge on earth. He's going to come to judge mankind. That's what the hadith says. And the hadith says he will give them, either they embrace Islam or they face the sword. Now, what does the Quran say? La ikraha fi din. The hadith says, run away. You naughty. Yaar, come back, yaar. Don't make us wait with this. You see, these people, this is the problem. These people, they start these discussions and they can't answer them. They haven't got the answer. Let me tell you what that hadith says. The hadith says Jesus will come and he will descend to judge mankind. He will give them two choices, Islam or the sword. And those that join him will be safe, and those that don't, he will fight them. What does the Quran say? La ikraha fi din. There is never compulsion to embrace Islam. What does this particular hadith? No, Jesus will force people to become Muslim. You think, cha. What kind of church are we embracing here? This is bhag gaya yaar. Bhag meri jaan, bhag. This one big problem, these people run away, they come underprepared. So people, with that, let's wrap it up. It's been awesome. Right. See, this is why I say I'm all happy to have a dialogue, but then don't go running, this one not nice, You need to talk, it's good to talk. It's good to talk. People, take very good care of yourselves. It's been awesome. Reach out to me on Insta. I'm on Patreon, Miss Patreoncitos, bienvenidos. You can check it out. You can you can support if you want. I've got different tiers. I'm going to have certain things going on, some private group sessions. There's an option for one-on-one sessions. There's an option for this kind of like a group to get to know each other, like-minded people, a Telegram group. I've seen Zebaji is a fine participant on those groups, contributing positively. Zeba said, then maybe Christians should believe Muhammad is the Muslim Jesus. Very good point. Very good point. Guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Take very good care of yourselves. May Allah bless you all, keep you smiling. Assalamu alaikum. Right, he's just come back. Yeah. Go on then. Man, just doesn't matter to sign off, yeah.
Most side my phone is messed up, man.
No problem, man. In addition to your beliefs. but unlike the second coming of Jesus, it was the second coming of Jesus.
Maliki scholar Qadi Iyad said whoever doesn't believe in Nuzul Isa is a misguided individual.
But they also believed that to take people as slaves is fine. Do you believe?
So why are you a Maliki then?
No,
what's the point of being Maliki?
The purpose of Maliki is the legacy. It's not to worship Qadi Iyad.
No,
do you believe? Let me ask you, since you're quoting Qadi Iyad as an authority, do you accept him as an authority?
I'm not a Maliki, so I'm speaking to you. I'm speaking on your grounds.
Let me ask you, which scholar do you accept as an utmost authority that whatever he says goes?
That doesn't. We're not talking about me. This is your channel, right? If you want to come on my channel, you're more than welcome.
Okay. No, so it's okay for you to recognize that we don't worship scholars, but you expect me, who's actually trained in the Sharia, to worship Qadi Iyad just because I rate and respect him.
No, but it's not just you're not missing my point. It's not just Qadi Iyad. All of the Maliki scholars, all the major Maliki scholars, believe in Nuzul Isa.
Okay, so
why are you in 2020 coming with a different narrative?
Right. First of all, I'm not coming in 2020. First of all, I want to clear one thing. Are we allowed to blind follow in belief matters?
Belief matters. What does that mean? If it's tawatir, if it's mutawatir, bro.
So we're allowed
if it's mutawatir and it's well known by every alim, it's like there's the ijma on it.
Let's go. Yeah, there's ijma on one God.
Yes.
Are you allowed to blindly follow in Aqidah that there's one God?
It's a part of the Quran, bro. This is a basic fundamental.
You blindly follow that. You do know that that's a fundamental. You are absolutely wrong, by the way. You clearly do. This is Aqidah 101, right? It's not even 101. It is haram by ijma of ulama of Islam to blindly follow in just believing in one God. You have to believe. That's not belief. If I just say I believe because you said it, you say I believe in one God. Yeah, whatever you say, I believe. Your belief is my belief. That is BS. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, I never said that. I said you have to believe that. That's a fundamental belief.
I asked you, can you blind follow in?
No, I never said that. You're misquoting me. I said it's a fundamental belief.
By the way, so we can
come on, man.
You said very clearly, live streamed, that it's okay to blindly follow in beliefs. And
never said that.
Even in Tawheed. So okay, so it's haram to blindly follow in Aqidah.
No, I never said that. I said in beliefs like Nuzul Isa. So in the Ghaybiyat, the Nuzul Isa is a mutawatir belief. It's a belief that it's been transmitted by many of the ulama.
In Aqidah, is it okay to blindly follow in Aqidah, or do you have to believe it yourself?
You have to believe it yourself.
Okay, so why are you? So the fact you're asking me to blindly follow just because such and such said it, is that not a contradiction with the Aqidah of Islam?
I'm saying in the Nuzul of Isa.
You're saying to me, it's haram to blindly follow, which the ulama of Aqidah actually say, by the way. It's haram to blindly follow in Aqidah. So now, if it's haram to blindly follow, that means I don't believe it, but just because X, Y, and Z said it, I'm going to say it. I don't know what it is. I'm just saying it whatever they said.
Okay,
this belief,
is there ijma on this? On this Nuzul of Isa issue? Is there ijma?
No, right. So what is there ijma on the Nuzul of Isa?
Yes, is there ijma on it?
Do you feel there is?
I'm just asking you. Maybe you know more than me.
Right. So first of all, right, the fact that you're asking this, what is the definition of ijma?
In the Maliki school, is there ijma on this?
So would would that even be ijma if it's only?
Has any of the Maliki? Okay, let me just ask you.
Let me get this right. For the public, right? Ijma means consensus.
Yes.
And by consensus, you mean something that carries weight within Sharia. It's a hujjah Shari'iyya. It cannot be kind of just, you can't just ignore it. It's a compelling argument. It's compelling evidence, right? So ijma is only ijma of the ummah. There is saying there's ijma of this gang doesn't mean anything in Islam. It's not hujjah Shari'iyya, the ijma of the Malikiyya. That's ridiculous. That's as dumb as it gets. That's by definition not an ijma.
So, in the Maliki school, let's say. Is this the majority of the scholars in the Maliki school? Do they believe in the nuzul of Isa?
Okay, is the truth democratic?
Is the truth democratic?
Is Islam established by democracy?
What kind of question is that?
Because you said that the majority have voted for this. So is this how we establish truth in Islam? Falsehood and truth. We establish it by a democratic vote.
No, we should establish it by proofs and evidence.
Okay, so let's go to the evidence. Let's go to the hadith.
Yes.
The hadith says that Jesus will come and he will give people two options. He will either give them iman, you can choose Islam, or you can be put to the sword. This clashes with the Quran. La ikraha fi din. Do you accept this kind of an Islam would be okay for Jesus to come and force? Yaar, phir bhag gaya. Phir bhag gaya. You know, in the words of John Elia, Kaam ki baat maine ki nahi. Whenever we're speaking about something right, he runs off. Guys, let's wrap this up. Take very good care of yourselves. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.